Well, I'm looking at the Hot Springs is the race I'm most looking forward to today. It's a little bit like the consolation prize for horses that didn't compete in the Arkansas Derby, and I think it's a very interesting race. I mean, obviously, you've got Baffert again with a favorite in Gaming, a horse that was runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But I think there's a couple of other interesting horses as well. Ola Jolie is stretching out and has been a very honest, consistent runner. And Wayne Lucas has got a horse that is getting good at the right time, Perfect Force.
Baffert, Lucas, it's a good stakes race. The new Hot Springs. The old Hot Springs is now the Whitmore, a grade 3 sprint for older horses. This one, 2 turns, 3-year-olds, included Gaming. Let's revisit the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and this runner-up effort when Gaming looked like, towards the end of his 2-year-old campaign, he was one of the very best of his generation.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, he faced Citizen Bull, who's shown he's a nice, classy individual himself, who got everything his own way, got to just dominate on the lead, but Gaming kept running. Put a line through Gaming Southwest. He got completely eliminated into the first turn.
The Southwest, yeah, while Sandman stumbled, awful start for him, Gaming got away just fine, but then, yeah, passing the stands for the first time, completely sawed off Richie.
And this is why when you have post one, there has to be more urgency. You have to get your position going forward. Once he allowed those horses to drop over, now it's like that wave, and watch, he's really going to take up there. He's never been in that position before. He's always had enough speed to put himself in a contending position in the clear. Today, I don't think he'll encounter that kind of traffic.
Again, for trainer Bob Baffert, as we welcome in Maggie Wolfendale to the broadcast, back where Gaming is stabled not far from Cornucopia, defeated favorite in yesterday's Arkansas Derby.
Well, Gaming having hopefully his game face on today and looking for a little bit of better racing luck than what he had in that Southwest. But this Hot Springs was not the plan A. He was actually meant to run 2 weeks ago in the Virginia Derby, but spiked a temperature in the days preceding that race, but then he was okay a few days after. But Bob Baffert said, I was so excited to run him there because it was a round 1 turn, and that is where Gaming is undefeated, winning his first 2 starts of his career at shorter distances. But they've regrouped. He's had a little bit of time off, and he's looking to get this 3-year-old campaign started in the right way today. And after Cornucopian embroiled in that fast pace yesterday in the Arkansas Derby, finishing 4th, I'm sure disappointing to Connections, the Baffert team looking to get back into the Oaklawn Park winner's circle today with Gaming.
It's been a less than stellar 3-year-old series of Derby preps for trainer Bob Baffert here at Oaklawn Park, where he's had so much success over the years, but going back to Gaming and Madacat Road and Cornucopian yesterday, for the trainer who's tied for the most Arkansas Derby victories, it's been disappointing.
It has been. I mean, obviously he has a lot of horses with ability, but they all kind of have the similar style too. They all have speed, and when you have horses that are speed horses, they're always going to be prone to being hooked by other horses, what we witnessed yesterday, and get into compromising positions with speed duels.
Yeah, lots to unpack, and we'll recap yesterday's Arkansas Derby, but one of Gaming's main rivals today in the Hot Springs from the Steve Asmussen stable, Clever again. This is his maiden win. Richie race Rebel Day, 2nd start, his first route. Clever again in control with Jose Ortiz.
What's really interesting about Clever again is the speed he showed going 4.5 furlongs as a 2-year-old with his pedigree, and then to come back off the layoff and run a mile and a 16th as strongly as he did here. He's by American Pharaoh, Triple Crown winner, out of a mare Flattering, who's by Galileo, and she was a winner at 1.5 miles. So the fact that he possesses speed and has that stamina influence in his pedigree makes him very interesting.
Jose Ortiz back aboard in an Arkansas Derby weekend. Jose Ortiz will not soon forget anytime soon the sweep of the Fantasy and the Arkansas Derby. Today's races, things have changed a little. As always, brought to you by Claiborne Farm, 100 years, do the usual, unusually well. 2 tracks now, Oaklawn, Tampa Bay Downs, 3 combined stakes races. Aqueduct, Richie, though, has canceled, and we'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, we say hello to Acacia Clement, about 960 miles southeast, standing by live at Tampa Bay Downs. Acacia, around what time did that wake-up call in this morning?
It was a 3 a.m. alarm this morning, Lafitte, to go from Arkansas to Tampa, but happy to be here. It's always a day I really enjoy at Tampa Bay Downs. It's the Florida Cup, where the Florida breds are in the spotlight. On today's card, we'll be showing the 5 remaining stakes races, all for Florida breds on the afternoon. Turf, dirt, a variety of distances, and days like this are so important for the state bred programs because you have the opportunity to highlight the state breds and have them get a chance to run in some stakes races with some good money where you're running against fellow state bred companies. So a day that's really important to the state of Florida, to the breeders here in the state of Florida as well, and of course for those connections that do have the Florida bred. So looking forward to all of that. We'll kick it off with the sophomore fillies coming up, where you have a couple of fillies actually coming out of some graded stakes tries as well. So it just goes to show yet again about how we see some of these state bred programs. We talk about it a lot with the New York breds, and often they're able to compete against open company and against the best of their divisions. But today, Lafitte, they get the spotlight on Florida. The sun is shining. Can't complain. I have to find some sunscreen though, because I'm gonna get a little bit crispy before the end of the day. And after Oaklawn and then coming into the sun here, I feel like I'm gonna need a few days to recover before I get back for the Wood Memorial next week.
Our road warrior, Acacia Clement. Fun day of thoroughbred racing. Much more coming your way from Tampa Bay Downs. Plus, he has the name, the looks, the talent, and now the points. Sandman, Arkansas Derby winner. Next stop, Churchill Downs. Fired up, Jose Ortiz. Just getting started on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2.
Introducing Peace and Justice, new to New York in 2025. A proven sire with over 200 wins, 16% wins per starts, and one of only 2 New York-based stallions to have a graded stakes winner at Saratoga in 2024. Now, with 3 different racing surfaces coming to New York, and with New York breds running for equal purses as open company, Peace and Justice is the sure choice for 2025. Peace and Justice, now standing at Irish Hill and Duchess View Stallions in New York.
Great to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. Live look. Oaklawn Park gearing up for the 4th race. America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. $10,000 claimers, a mile. Horses hit the track moments ago. Let's meet the field. Starting with On a Spree, drawn inside. That's actually the 10. But On a Spree now with Nick Juarez taking over late rider change.
Gets a great post, and remember, this is a race that starts and ends at the 16th pole, so short stretch here. I think he's got the right style for this race. I think there's enough speed signed on to help him sit just off the pace.
Shot of courage. Is there any other kind?
Yeah, this horse lacks speed. Takes a precipitous drop in class, so out of allowance races in for 10,000.
Tawanaku, sharp gelding.
Here's one of the speeds. This horse will be forward and involved early with Francisco Arrieta.
Now the old guy home run trick, 10-year-old 51st career start.
And another horse with speed drawn next to a speed horse. Sometimes they incite each other.
Vivir con Alegría, the favorite.
And there's your third speed, who is the favorite. And he might have a tough trip here being drawn outside those other two speed horses and getting a scrum.
Double down stables. Chaos reigns to the outside.
Another horse that has speed, but that was a little bit slower fractions than the three inside of him faced previously.
Field for the fourth race. Just a $10,000 claimer. All for sale. Older horses. Circle back to On a Spree. This was his latest. Early February in his 48th career start. He was favored on that particular afternoon. I promise you'll see that not last start. On a Spree, Richie, who blows by Lions Not Sheep, who did defect from today's race for career victory number 15.
Yeah, listen, any horse that wins 15 races, you know they're honest. 48 starts, 15 wins. I just feel like the race sets up so well for him, Lafitte, with the amount of speed signed on and that inside draw. He's going to be drafting in behind that flight of horses, and it gives Nick Juarez the opportunity to kind of see how it's going to play out in front of him. Doesn't it feel like there's plenty of speed signed on?
Table should be set.
Yeah.
Table should be set. So how does that compromise things potentially for Vivir con Alegría? He is an even money favorite, though. He's not going to have a clear early lead that would make his task that much easier.
You know, I don't think...
Or he's going to have to really work for it.
And has he really ever been effective from off the pace? I don't see anywhere in his form that tells me that he can settle off of horses. And yes, he's gotten consistent buyer figures. If you go back deeper, you know, last year at Gulfstream, some really big buyer figures. But recently, aren't they very close or similar to On a Spree at, 7-2 as opposed to even money and potentially just a much better setup?
It feels like too much of a discrepancy.
It feels like that
the
to
odds
me.
Between he and some of the other contenders in here. We saw Shot of Courage, number 2. Is that him? I believe it is. 15-1 on the morning line, 7-2, but several scratches and defections with Ricardo Santana. Another one that at very least he can sit just off the leaders and be in a prime spot if he's good enough.
Well, to me, the two most identifiable closers are the one On a Spree and the two Shot of Courage, who are both going to get ground-saving trips at least around the first turn. And my principle of riding was always, if you're going to lose ground on one turn, you got to save ground on the other. So this gives them the opportunity to save ground early and tip out when they need to. And that drop in class, I mean, if you go back with Shot of Courage, when he ran for 20, he stepped up into allowance company. He's now running for 10.
Speaking of Shot of Courage, any rock climbing in your future before the end of the day?
You know, I think I'm more of a bouncy house guy at this stage of my life.
You could do both, man.
Well, after I get out of this suit, potentially.
He's almost there.
Look at this.
Almost there.
Well, they
so
took
much
the
to do
camera
here.
off.
Something for everything here at the kids' families here at Oaklawn Park in between races.
I tell you, what a great crowd. And I was talking with Chris Ho, the VP here at Oaklawn.
Does
he
a great
said
job.
Over.
Oh, man. He repelled. Look at that. It's like an
I
Army Ranger.
I thought he fell.
Yeah, I saw it at first. No, he's like an Army Ranger repelling.
Yeah. Chris Ho said yesterday over 3,000 corned beef sandwiches sold, and that they order 20,000 pounds of corned beef for the meet.
I have the stats and those numbers somewhere. Not readily available, of course, but like last season, the food, the actual, when it was counted up at the end of the season, just how much of everything was sold here at Oaklawn. It's staggering. From the oysters to the shrimp to the corned beef sandwiches, it'll blow your mind.
Well, you got great racing and great food options, and it's just a fun day. And then when you get weather like this, like we had yesterday after the rain cleared out, a day like this, and after watching that guy rappel down there, I actually do think I'm going to try this rock climbing thing before we leave.
the rock climbing, we could somehow combine that with the hatchet axe throwing.
I have not
I want to
done
make
that.
it
You
a
looked
little
good
more
at
challenging for you to make it to the top.
You'll be
while
throwing
you're
the
climbing.
axe.
I want to see
climbing?
how good of a rock climber you are. Can you do it with axes and hatchets being thrown at you?
I'll be fast.
All that. So much. Something from everybody here at Oaklawn Park, and specifically on this weekend, winding down Arkansas Derby weekend. So glad you could join us on Fox Sports 2. An update in a moment on why there is no racing today at Aqueduct, but they're getting closer to post time here for the 4th race. Another look at Shot of Courage as the 9-horse, despite what the race looks like on paper. Vivir con Alegría. Richie, final thoughts as he continues to reign as the favorite.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a pretty contested pace, and I'm looking for horses that are going to rally from up the pace.
What
and,
numbers are we looking for, speed-wise, early?
I think the
9?
9, 10, 6, 9, 10 are all speed, right?
On paper. Let's see how the riders handle it from the start. As we turn things over to Matt Dinnerman, terrific job yesterday. Great calls in both the Fantasy and Arkansas Derby. He's on the mic for this $10,000 claimer. Post time, race 4, live Oaklawn on Fox Sports 2.
Into the outside post, Chaos reigns. Chaos reigns goes it. We're ready to go. And they're off. Vivir con Alegría wins the start, is on the lead. Home run trick second early. Chaos Reigns dashing forward from the outside post to be part of the action on the lead. Chaos Reigns, Vivir con Alegría. These two go into the first turn with Chaos Reigns floating a little wide, now coming back over. Vivir con Alegría, the leader, by about a length here from Chaos Reigns and Home Run Trick, who's back in third. The gray horse, he's 3 lengths off the leader. There's a gap of 4 back to Honest Spree and Tiwanaku to the outside. That leaves Shot of Courage to trail as the half-dozen runners swing up the backstretch here. Vivir con Alegría goes at a good pace. He's a length in front of Chaos Reigns on his tail. A length and a half back to Home Run Trick, still stalking in third. Gap of 3 to Honest Spree. Tiwanaku a half length off of him. And Shot of Courage has yet to pass a runner as Vivir con Alegría slows the pace down a little bit, and they start to pack up. Just 5 lengths from tip to tail in this field as they go into the turn. Remember, this race will end at the 16th pole. Vivir con Alegría, the leader from Chaos Reigns. Honest Spree gets a reminder to go by Nick Juarez, and here he comes on the outside and just breezed to the front, did Honest Spree. And Vivir con Alegría is left behind in second. Stunned, it appears, as Honest Spree opens up 2.5 lengths, dives to the rail, and cuts the corner coming off the turn. Vivir con Alegría is second, chasing behind. Then comes Shot of Courage into the third position. Furlong to go. Honest Spree, the leader. Vivir con Alegría trying to come back at him, and he is. Honest Spree, now he's getting leg weary. He needs the wire desperately, and he is going to get there. Honest Spree over Vivir con Alegría, who tried to come back. He was running on, but he has to settle for second. Shot of Courage third. Tiwanaku fourth.
A desperate finish. Honest Spree, that bold move, rounding the far turn, and Nick Juarez wears the wire.
He made a bold, decisive, aggressive move with Honest Spree. It was a fast pace that we anticipated, but then the last 16th of a mile, it looked like Honest Spree was on fumes because he made that, big brush of a move. And you got to give the runner-up a lot of credit under Julien Leperoux, because he battled back. Maybe Nick Juarez caught him a little off guard because Julien was still trying to raid along a little bit, and he went all in.
1-9-2-5 here, race 4, Oaklawn Park, as we say hello to our friends in New York, Greg Wolf, Jonathan Kinchin, Paul LaDuca on set at Aqueduct. Guys, I've seen a lot of different ways and reasons that races have been canceled at particular racetracks. This, Greg, is a first for me.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate situation. Unexpected, of course, but New York Racing Association forced to cancel the entirety of this card this afternoon because of unacceptable noise levels next door at the Resorts World Casino due to an auto and bike show that is currently going on right now. Naira is unaware this situation was going to happen. They tried to rectify the situation with Resorts World Casino. They were unable to alter their event going on. So as a result, Live action canceled today. We will be back on Thursday. We're here right now, and we are inside, a ways away from it. It is extremely loud, so the right decision was made.
Well, we're a ways away from it. I can tell you exactly how far we are because the wire's right there, the quarter pole's right there. We're about a half a mile away, and it is loud.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah, you can feel the windows behind us are beating like the bass. You can hear it. So it was obviously going to cause the horses some issues, and that's something that we need to stay away from. It's just an unfortunate situation.
All right, so again, back to live action here in New York next Thursday. We have Tampa Bay Downs coverage, though, for you. We have Acacia Clement live on site. We start with this, the Stonehenge Farm South Sophomore fillies, 3-year-old fillies, 7/8 of a mile. And we have Bella Cleopatra outside for trainer George Weaver, taking a ton of money on the board, even money right now. Let's start with the one Frida, blinkers on.
Yeah, Frida down on the inside. Doesn't have a lot of early speed as of late. Will need it from this inside position.
Drops out of back-to-back Kentucky Oaks preps, graded stakes races. So softer spot here, 9-2. Next door, Paulie on Hey Cookie.
Yeah, Hey Cookie won at 20-1 to break her maiden last time. You're getting 9-2 today. She did come from off the pace.
La Gioconda, blinkers come off. The only dirt start was a win.
Yeah, it was on a sloppy racetrack, and it's really tough to gauge these horses that are coming off synthetic. You get Paco Lopez aboard.
Win and you're in. Blinkers come off.
Not to be mistaken. This is not a win and you're in race for the Breeders' Cup.
No, Luis Saez for Carlos David. Saw in the Ruthless at Aqueduct last time she was on track. Here's our morning brew, Saffy Joseph Jr.
I think a horse that could be the speed of the speed, unless the 8 does want to stock off this filly.
And this one taking all of that money. It's surprisingly such a short price here for George Weaver.
Well, I think it might just be a little bit of a George Weaver Vacoma thing. And funny enough, Vacoma's rider, Javier Castellano, aboard.
Even money on Bella Cleopatra. Let's go live on site. Check in with Acacia for more.
And Greg, we'll start there. She is taking a lot of attention, but honestly, in the paddock, she looks best. Now, as you might remember with Vacoma, such a great racehorse and so much fun to follow for George Weaver. He had an atypical action in that he really paddled, really reached out with his front legs. A lot of his offspring do that as well, and this filly is no exception. So if you watch her races, she does have a little bit of a funny way of going, but again, that's typical of her Vacoma bloodline, but he's just been an incredible sire to start with some really precocious 2-year-olds, and they've gone on as 3-year-olds on both surfaces, turf and dirt. Now, this filly did break slowly last time out when winning and then kind of rushed up and took over, but she obviously has ability. That was her second race with George, and the second off a bit of a layoff. Like I said, just from a purely physical perspective, she's sharp and she looks best overall. But taking a look at the number 1 Frida, as you mentioned, comes out of back-to-back tries in open graded stakes company on the Kentucky Oaks trail. Does add blinkers, pretty significant blinker cup, a 3/4 cup going on in here. I like her turning back in distance a bit to the 7/8. I think that'll suit her more, and she's very sharp. I wish overall she was carrying a little bit more muscle mass, but I think you have to pay attention to the class drop that she is experiencing today, going back into Florida Breds, where her 2 Florida Bred races were a slim beat second and a win, but again against maiden. So we'll see what she can do now against Florida Bred Stakes Company. The number 6 Win and You're In, also facing open in her last couple. They tried the blinkers on in the Ruthless. They come right off in here. She did not show any gate speed last time out. Ruben Silvera having to pretty much niggle at her throughout the entire way. She ran okay when being forward. 2 starts back in the Gasparilla here at Tampa, but I wonder if that shipping up to New York and back has taken a bit out of her. She just looks like she's lost a little bit of muscle mass and conditioning across her flank and in her barrel versus what I saw from her 2 starts back. I certainly respect her, and I think this is the right spot for her. Just wondering if that took a little bit of starch out of her. And then the 4 La Gioconda, I didn't particularly love her from a physical perspective. She got pretty warm, and she could be a bit stronger overall. However, I am very intrigued about her getting back to the dirt and cutting back in distance. She's actually the half-sister to Hurricane Nelson, who will be running a little bit later on in race 10. His best surface and distance is 7 furlongs on the main track. We'll see if that runs in the family, Greg.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Hurricane Nelson as well, who came back very strong for the Clement barn. Here we go. Stonehenge Farm, Sophomore fillies, even money favorite. The last in, Bella Cleopatra. Jason Beam with the call.
Bella Cleopatra goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on in the Stonehenge Farm South Sophomore Filly Stakes. Hey Cookie sprints out for the early advantage. Between horses, Winning You're In is set for early speed. And out wide, Our Morning Brew, part of the early mix as well. The entire group of 6 of them only separated about a length and a half as they scramble up top here. Winning You're In, Hey Cookie, they emerge 1-2. Frida to their inside, makes a lineup of 3. Then comes Our Morning Brew out wide. On the far outside, Bella Cleopatra, La Gioconda, still just 2 lengths front to back as they race as a pack up the back stretch in the Sophomore fillies. 21-4, so there is a pace on here with the wind at their back. And up front, it's Winning You're In narrowly in front of Hey Cookie, Frida down toward the inside in 3rd. Our Morning Brew is 4th. Bella Cleopatra starting to move up on the outside is 4 wide, beginning in the orange colors, drawn within 3 of the leader. It's 2 more back to La Gioconda. 3/8 of a mile left to go. Winning You're In has a clear lead now. It's a length and a half in front of Bella Cleopatra, who continues to gain, is now up to 2nd within a length and a half of the leader as they come past the quarter pole. Winning You're In and Luis Saez, the leaders to the top of the lane, a length and a half clear of Bella Cleopatra. Javier Castellano getting to work on her as they have 3/16 of a mile to try to reel in this leader. It's Winning You're In extending now out in front by almost 3. Bella Cleopatra is 2nd, Frida toward the inside 3rd. Trying to run on is Hey Cookie, but a final 16th to go, and it's Winning You're In. Winning You're in command here. Winning You're In going to win the Stonehenge Farm South. Sophomore fillies won it by about 6 in the end. Bella Cleopatra got 2nd. 3rd ended up close there between Hey Cookie and La Gioconda, who closed from last.
Winning You're In looks strong here. Luis Saez for Carlos David. 4 for 9 overall now.
Something about you saying that still is confusing me. That's a wild name, Winning You're In. No, look, it was a great performance. I don't know if it was Breeders' Cup worthy, but it was definitely a great performance.
It really was. I mean, you give Luis Saez the credit. Went right to the front end. Blinkers come off. That's one of your favorite angles there, Greg. And horse took the field gate to wire. One of the few horses in the race that has never raced with Lasix, and Philly gets the job done.
It's something I think we see very often at Tampa Bay Downs. Right, it's a very successful circuit, but you don't always see some of the bigger names that we know from other parts of the country. When they show up there, it feels like they're always a little bit overbet. The George Weavers, the Chad Browns, the Christophe Clements, the Todd Pletchers. When they show up at Tampa, it seems like for whatever reason the public latches on to them as if maybe they're showing up with a horse that is a little bit better than what the locals might have to offer.
You know the other key about this horse? How about the bullet drill on the turf?
Yeah.
That could be in the future for this horse, too.
Yeah, might have some ability there. This one's coming out of back-to-back stakes against Open Company and gets the win here. I believe bet down at 3-1 at post time. Winning You're In, not launching this one into any other bigger races down the line, but gets the picture here.
Spun to Run. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more, and he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Now, this multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, and Breeders' Cup champion is passing his remarkable talent along to his progeny.
Night Beacon airs at the home of Spun to Run's Breeders' Cup victory.
Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
Horse race.
And
Back at our Sunday coverage on Fox Sports 2, it's win and you're in to the winner's circle. After this victory here in the sophomore Phillies, trainer Carlos David, Luis Saez, blinkers come off, drops out of back-to-back open company stakes races and able to get this win against Florida Breds.
They got clear of the favorite, Bella Cleopatra, the 8, and just kept on going here under Luis Saez, and blinkers came off this filly by win. Yes, it's true, mare, and her most decisive, I guess not most decisive win of her career, but the best win of her career.
Yeah, it was trending in the wrong direction if you look at her past performances. Just was going basically backwards, but then got a little bit of a sharpening, a little break since February 1st. Takes the blinkers off, and maybe that's all it took to kind of wake her up a little bit.
6-8-4 La Gioconda, completing that trifecta here in the opener. Just second try on dirt for that one, but no doubt about a win for win and you're in. And that 7th as we move on to the Esmart Turf Classic. 1 1/8 on the grass, and Forever Super making his return for Michael Trombetta, 6 for 13 lifetime on the grass.
After the 2-horse wins here, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to get a bunch of Campbell's soup. I'm going to go home, put on some sweats, and watch the late basketball game.
This horse is a win machine. 9 for 19 lifetime.
Indeed. See if he can notch another one here in a 6-year-old return. Let's go back to the 7th, though, and go to Acacia.
And I'm happy to be joined by winning rider Luis Saez, who pilots Win and You're Into Victory. She just seemed to get really comfortable and happy out there.
Yeah, she always break pretty good. Today the plan with her was try to break and be in the clear. So she took the lead and we took it, and she relaxed pretty well when we came to the top of the stretch, and she switched the lead. She gave me a good turn of foot.
And I know you're happy about this one. I know you enjoy every win, but it's been a big weekend for you, winning the Florida Derby at Gulfstream yesterday with Tapit Street. What a victory for a horse that has just really shown a world of talent.
Oh yeah, he's a horse that he got a lot of talent. He only run 3 times, but he got so much talent, and we knew he was a horse that belonged to be in the Grade 1 of the Kentucky Derby. So we hope all the best with him, and of course we're pretty happy about that.
You won the Belmont Stakes with Brad Cox with Essential Quality a couple years ago. You're going back onto the Triple Crown Trail with another talented one for that barn. Talk a little bit about that relationship.
Well, Mr. Bragg gave me a lot of good opportunity when he first started, and I first started in New York. He was the guy that gave me a lot of horses when I first came over there. So I knew him for a long time, and now, being riding all these nice horses is something very special for us.
We look forward to the future with Tapit Street, but congratulations on the win here, too.
Thank you so much.
Luis Saez riding a strong weekend for sure, Greg.
We're going to talk more about that Florida Derby performance a little bit later on in the show. Tapit Street and Sovereignty, I think you can be very excited about going forward.
Yeah, I think Tapit Street ran very, very well. Got the jump on Sovereignty. I don't think Sovereignty needed to win the race, so I'd actually would prefer Sovereignty in the first Saturday in May, but I think Tapit Street is very, very talented. Mike Smith decided let's make this a fast pace. Both races, the Arkansas Derby and that race, were both fast paces, JK.
I was a little bit disappointed actually with Sovereignty. Based off of the race that he ran on that comeback, it's a Bill Mott trainee, you'd expect the horse to step forward, and I felt like he didn't step forward, and that was concerning to me.
See what he does in his 3rd off the bench. That'll be in the Kentucky Derby. We're going to take a timeout. This filly, she is going on to the Kentucky Oaks in top form. Quiet side, back-to-back Oaks Preps victories, including that fantasy win from yesterday. We'll talk about it when we come back.
They're coming down for the finish, and it is Silver State.
50-60, 250-60, now 60, 260 mark, 260,000.
Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome back. America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. Horses in the paddock, 9 minutes out, race 5. Yesterday, of course, however, Oaklawn's marquee event. 89th running of the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, of course, significant, major implications on the Kentucky Derby. 200 Derby points available, 100 to the winner. Richie, we go right back to the start of the race. Fireworks right from the start. Speed King, Cornucopian come out, guns blazing.
Yeah, and actually Speed King didn't break that sharply. He was actually outbroken by your eventual little Sandman. You see a cold battle in between them. And there's Cornucopia on the outside. Johnny Velasquez, long, light, loose rein. And they get hooked up here. And then it's just a cutthroat speed duel. There's no way horses can maintain the pace they were maintaining. I spoke with Johnny Velasquez earlier today to get his thoughts on what was going on. He said he broke quietly. He didn't ask him to go. He didn't want to get into a fight with him. And once Speed King engaged him from the inside, his horse just ran off with him.
Jose Ortiz loved what he saw unfolding in front of him, taking full advantage. Table set, and Sandman knocks it out of the park. Right there, you see him shine from the crop in the stretch. But in the end, just too much Sandman onto the run for the Roses.
Well, Sandman hit the front, and I think he lost his focus a little bit. He took a big step out, ducked out from the left-handed crop. Jose Ortiz, who rode brilliantly the entire card yesterday, quickly gathered him back up, went back to his right hand, held off Publisher, and actually was getting away from Publisher again late.
But the fact that he shied from the crop left-handed, jockeys don't like to ride with one hand tied behind their back, right? So what if Ortiz wants to go to his left hand in the stretch of the Kentucky Derby?
Well, he's got to be aware of it. I mean, because that was a dramatic enough move that if he had gone at him a second time, he might have wound up in the middle of the racetrack without the horse. You know, you've got to be aware, and your horse will give you clues. He actually took a little step out as soon as he switched, and then he hit him, and he really took that step out.
Something to think about, especially after last year's Kentucky Derby. Arkansas Derby winners who have also won the Kentucky Derby. 3 have done it. Sonny's Halo, Smarty Jones, American Pharaoh, illustrious list. Will Sandman be the 4th? We'll find out in 34 days. Greg, JK, Paul, your guys' biggest takeaway from yesterday's Arkansas Derby?
Well, guys, I thought it was interesting. You know, Mark Casse says after this win, finally things work out for him, and they work out because he gets this incredible pace set up. Is that part of how you feel about him going into that first Saturday in May? Things may not go as perfectly for him.
Well, it's funny. Of all the horses that have been running on this Triple Crown Trail, he might be the one I would like to own the most, right? He's consistent. He shows up. His style fits. He's going to get pace. He closes. He runs every time. But he also might be the least horse I would want to bet on because he keeps getting a setup. And he's going to be bet in a way that he hasn't been getting a setup. They're going to bet him like he's this horse who's going to love a mile and a quarter. He's going to come rolling. And he might. But at a short price, I have to look elsewhere. But I'd love to own him.
Well, yeah. How do you feel?
I think he's a really nice horse. I just don't know if any of the horses from the Arkansas Derby really are going to be the ones that you want to play going forward, Greg. Listen, Publisher got the great setup, although he didn't break very, very well, but he's always been a horse that they've liked. And Flavien Prat, I remember after he rode him last time, said, the next time I ride him, I'll have him a little bit up closer. Well, he was dead last. Well, that happened to be a pretty good place to be when they're just going great ablazing up front. I think the issue is going to be they're all going to have issues with Cornucopian when he goes to the Preakness if he comes out of that race, because he ran the most amazing 4th I've ever seen in my life. It's just really hard to gauge. I just think those top 2 finishers are going to be kind of horses that could be 3rd or 4th in the Derby. That's just
still a little green in the stretch, as we saw from that left-handed crop from Jose Ortiz. One of the more interesting things, Ortiz came back to Mark Casse, and Mark Casse obviously very excited to hear this, that Jose said the horse did not take a deep breath at all in this performance. So mile and a quarter may be right up his alley.
I'm telling you right now, if you had to ask me who do I want to key in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of any horse, it would be him. And like I said, I don't think that he can't win. I think he could absolutely win. I just feel like he's going to be a shorter price than he deserves to be based on the 3 setups. Not the 3 setups, the 3 situations that he had in his last 3 starts, right? He had trouble with a fast pace, so it's 2 races ago, which is it looks really nice. And then he has this race where he has a everyone's talking about the ride on Cornucopian. If they're talking about the aggressive ride on Cornucopian, then you have to understand that's a setup for Sandman.
At least he's figured out his getting out of his own way, though, too. The problem is getting out of the gate. We send it back to Hot Springs. Sandman looks like potentially Monday could be headed to Louisville.
He'll be there very shortly. I think what it comes down to, race dynamics, is that there are fast paces, right? Typically in a Kentucky Derby, and then there are meltdowns. Yesterday felt like an absolute meltdown. I don't know that those in Sandman's camp can count on those types of race dynamics in the Kentucky Derby.
Well, I understand the point that Jonathan's making, but think about the Kentucky Derby, the history of the Kentucky Derby. 20-horse field lends itself to riders being more aggressive, trying to get that position, not get shuffled back in a big field. A quarter-of-a-mile run to the first turn. Horses pick up speed on straightaways, lends itself to paces heating up. The atmosphere, it's the Kentucky Derby. Riders are not immune to getting caught up in that atmosphere and the excitement of it. I think that we're going to see another very fast pace in the Kentucky Derby, at least too fast a pace for a mile and a quarter, and it plays to Sandman's strength. I can see him getting it done again because of the setup.
Something else you notice when closers win the Kentucky Derby, think back to Mind That Bird or Street Sense or Monarchos. Yeah, they come from far back, but they're right on top of the leaders by the top of the stretch, by the 8th pole, Maggie, and that's where Sandman was. It's not like he had to pass 8 rivals in the stretch. He was right in the thick of things when the real running started in the stretch.
And that kind of is a testament to the style and the abilities of Jose Ortiz, who got aboard Sandman for the first time yesterday, Lafitte. And I just keep thinking back to when I saw Sandman in Saratoga running in those 2-year-old races, thinking that he was such a tall, leggy, stretchy colt that he would love the more distance he gets to cover, including those classic distances of a mile and a quarter and a mile and a half, so on and so forth. So I also can attest to Jose Ortiz saying that he didn't take a deep breath because he was not blowing at all when I caught up to him on the pony. So definitely a horse that's going to thrive with these long classic races. And two, as Mark Cassius said, it's kind of a throwback horse. He does kind of remind me of those Phipps horses that just keep galloping. So in the last 5 derbies, we've seen 4 of them won by horses closing from well off the pace. Taking a look, though, at this field here, as we do have a claiming 10 on the track for the fillies and mares, mile and a 16th. We'll start with the horse who is the drop-down number 6, Templar Red. She's at 3-1 on the board, and she comes out of a race in which Rose Palace won. Well, if you don't remember, 2 days ago, the Lapa Torrell Stakes was won by Rose Palace, first off the claim for Tammy Hornsby with an 80 buyer, so she definitely gets the class relief here. And overall, Templar Red just has the faster races to her resume. She looks fine overall. I'm not enthralled with her, but I can't really say nay, don't bet this short price favorite because she deserves to be. Moving on to a horse that did catch my eye, though, that's number 2, Royal Laughter. She has been competing in these types of ranks and did graduate from the non-2 life, so trying to climb up the ladder now here in this non-3 life, but she's one that got caught very wide into the first turn, and she just kind of grinded out the victory. It looks as though she's doing well heading into this race, and sometimes when you get a horse's confidence up, it tends to overflow and continue on with subsequent races. But really well conditioned, great coat to her as well, and just good energy from the paddock and onto the track in the warm-up. Moving on to number 9, Clearly Creeps. She's another one that kept catching my eye. She does not have particularly fast races, and I can't really make that much of a case for her on paper, but from the time she walked over here with her groom, from the time in the paddock to the time she hit the track, Ricardo Santana immediately took her away from the pony. She framed herself up, really got up underneath of herself and on the bridle, and is moving beautifully out there. So a bit of a long shot that I think deserves a bit of a look at 20-1. And then we have the Louisiana Invader from Fairgrounds. It's 50 Shades time. Now, it was a merry-go-round last time behind a 3-5 favorite in that off the turf event. I'm a little leery of this mare's propensity to want to go this far, or her affinity for this type of distance, I should say. She's short and kind of squat and just built more like a sprinter. That is typical of not this time, so, you know, she has pedigree making her look that way. But when you look at her resume too, Lafitte, I'm not exactly sure if it backs up wanting to go this mile in a 16th.
Distance a question. 9-2. Pickup mount Eric Asmussen. Saw Nick Juarez win with a pickup mount in the 4th race. See if Eric Asmussen can do the same here. The crowd at Oaklawn Park the day after the Arkansas Derby. And talk about being thoroughly entertained yesterday, Richie. The 68,000 in attendance. Not only the top class racing Derby winner, horse of the year, galloping in between races, Mystic Dan Torpedo Anna.
That was the cherry on top, right? Not only were you here for some amazing racing, and what a terrific racing card they put together, the racing office here at Oaklawn, but then to have your horse of the year and your Derby winner.
So good.
And you know what? They got an applause as they were galloping along. What a great atmosphere yesterday.
Terrific day of racing. And the Sunday program rolls on. They're at the gate for the 5th. It's post time. Matt Dinnerman standing by.
Templar Red is next. Two back behind the starting gate here. Chai Tea in the lime green into the outside right trap. Rounds out the field. We're ready to go. And let off slow break from Fearless Christie. Templar Red on the lead today. Saranac Lake is being asked for speed. Takes an arrow advantage here on Templar Red. And Royal Laughter down on the inside as they corner into the first turn run. Saranac Lake getting to the fence, leading by a half length from Templar Red and Right Trap, who's 3 deep, joining the fun on the front end. Royal Laughter right behind the speed with Undecoded. Clearly Creeps is next in the purple. She's 3 lengths off the pace with Fearless Christie. It's 50 Shade Time is next with Chai Tea. Gap of 2.5 to Bull Toro. Lady Mercedes is second to last, and Big Bad Diva can see them all as they head down the back stretch. 10 or 11 lengths from 1st to 12th. Down the back stretch, contentious battle on the lead here. Saranac Lake on a hold. The jockey, Tyler Bacon, trying to ration her speed, and she's got a narrow lead here. On the outside, it's Right Trap trying to see there. It looked like maybe the saddle just slipped forward a little bit here with Saranac Lake as they go towards the 4-turn run, but it looks like she's just on a really strong hold. Hits the turn a neck in front of Right Trap. Gap of 2 lengths to Templar Red, who's come under a hard ride. Fearless Christie to the outside of her around the turn. Undecoded is next. Royal Laughter is sent along hard inside of her. They're 5 lengths clear of Clearly Creeps. She's plotting in place in midfield at the moment. It's 50 Shade Time. Absolutely needs to turn it around. She hasn't done much running as they come to the top of the lane. Fearless Christie on the outside comes looking for the lead. Saranac Lake on the inside, though, repelling her challenge, and Saranac Lake keeps going. Saranac Lake, a 2-length lead here on Fearless Christie in second. Down the center, Lady Mercedes is kicking it into top gear, but Saranac Lake is opened up. Saranac Lake by about 5 coming to the finish, and Saranac Lake, Walter De La Cruz to win it. Big Bad Diva in the photo for second with Lady Mercedes. Fearless Christie fourth.
Claim from Chris Hartman by Ronnie Cravens. Walter De La Cruz aboard. Saranac Lake at 6-1 in the 5th at Oaklawn Park.
Showing an improved speed under Walter De La Cruz. Looked like at one point down the backstretch, the saddle might have slipped up a little bit. Not fully slipping, but just moved up a little bit. Sometimes when riders are using their body weight against the stirrups to control a horse, the saddle have a tendency to move a little bit. Obviously, it did not affect her in a negative fashion as she just repelled all challenges and kicked away. Look at the difference between the fractions of this race as opposed to the last race. A much more controlled, sedate pace.
Results forthcoming. No question about the winner. Saranac Lake at Oaklawn Park. Let's get back to Greg, JK, and Paul in New York with eyes on a stakes race at Tampa, the Turf Classic.
Yeah, we kick off our post parade with Crystal Quest making the 4-year-old debut.
Yeah, Live Oak Plantation, the same connections as the 2, who I love.
It was favored at 3-2.
Yeah, and the horse to beat here with Paco Lopez aboard. 9-time winner, 19 lifetime starts.
Biggest price on the board right here, Drama Chorus.
That checks out.
Lord Eddard Stark. You got a raw deal.
Yeah, for Joey Orsino. This horse can throw up a big effort every once in a while.
20-1 on Treasure King, Javier Castellano.
Yeah, I mean, look, this horse's last 2 races, he's been finishing at a nice price, maybe underneath. I don't think this horse can win.
Happy is as happy does, who is 42-1, just missed against the favorite last March at Tampa.
I know, right? At 6-1. Maybe that speed will come back.
Here's street earnings with Dylan Davis.
Live Oak Plantation just said, you know what? What the heck?
Boppy.
Run them all.
Oh, Mark Cassie just missed last start.
This horse has had, 4 seconds in the last 5 starts. Been a little bit unlucky, but very consistent.
Here's Echo Lane for Rohan Crichton, 5-time winner on the turf.
Yeah, it can run, but needs to get a little bit of pace to close into.
Ninja Star, Israel Rodriguez in the irons.
This is a horse 4 or 5 starts ago was in pretty good form, then entered some of the tougher company.
And one is going to try and lead him on the front end here, the man up front.
Yeah, actually ran pretty well last time. Just needs to find a little bit more from a figure standpoint to be competitive with this group.
And 21-1 outside here is Otago.
And the biscuit aboard, Adam Beschizza for Kelsey Danner. They're very good together. And this is a horse that has pretty good consistency. Kelsey's a very good trainer.
Well, Acacia Forever Super, very accomplished on the turf, loves this distance. How does he look for the comeback?
He looks great coming back, and as JK was mentioning in the post parade, 3 horses in those Live Oak colors, just kind of echoing what I was touching on earlier, that this day is important for the breeders, and especially owner breeders that race have an opportunity, Live Oak being a Florida-based operation as well. Now at Tampa, they have the helmet covers corresponding to the saddle towels, so if you get confused, look for that. But as far as Forever Super is concerned, he won this race last year. In fact, he's one of 5 of the 12 runners in this race that are past Florida Cup winners, either in this particular race or different editions. But pretty cool to see those horses coming back in this spot. So defending champ with Forever Super off the layoff. Michael Trombetta, reading the notes leading into this, said he felt it was just a really great spot to get this horse started for the year, as we see so many trainers do, kicking off their horses' seasons on this Tampa turf course to go run in some bigger races down the line. Looks the picture of health, fit off the layoff. I don't have any problems with him, and he's run some very fast races. Now, Crystal Quest, another Live Oak horse and another one for the barn, and a much bigger price. I know that on paper he is nowhere near as fast as his stablemate, but this horse just kept catching my eye. I don't know if he's good enough in here, but he's taken a huge jump from 3 to 4. Just looking back on notes from last year, and he was running against Open Graded Stakes Company and the likes of Neat in the Grade 2 Hall of Fame at Saratoga. He's filled out. He framed up so nicely on the track. Just had to give him a mention because he's double-digit odds, and like I said, maybe he's just not of that caliber, but you can often see a big jump for 3 to 4, and he is one that has done exactly that. The 8 Boppio, I think, is a generous price for a horse that is remarkably consistent, but as Paul mentioned, one that's really not a winning type. 6 seconds for the 3 wins that he does boast. Last time out, was chasing and kind of made a little bit of a middle move there, and game to the wire, kind of re-engaging with Signator, but just outgamed down the lane, and that seems to kind of be the story for Boppio. However, I will say I haven't seen him in a while. He too is really filled out, and he looks great in here. He has gotten a bit warm on the track. It's a warm day at Tampa, so I'm not going to hold that against him. I just need to see him have a little bit of that killer instinct and that punch in the stretch. Finally, the 9 Echo Lane. Louis Sai is looking for another one here. This is a horse who was off the pace last time out. Didn't look completely settled early on, and he did clip heels, but was able to run on after that, which I found encouraging. Seminole Chief, the winner of that race, came back to win a stake at Gulfstream yesterday in the Appleton with a 90 buyer speed figure, highlighting that effort. I thought on paper Echo Lane needed to get a little bit faster, but he stacks up beautifully from a physical perspective if he can settle in those first few strides, Greg.
All right, Acacia, thank you. JK, there is the favorite, Forever Super, stepping into the gate.
Tackle speed, inside draw, will save ground on both turns. He's got speed to get out of those positions. He's coming in off a break. He's run well off a break before, and he worked on the synthetic twice. So I know he's ready to handle this grass.
If there was any other horse, I think the 2's obvious horse to beat. The 7 to me is a big rider change. Dylan Davis aboard, and you're getting a good price on that horse.
Esmart Turf Classic, mile and an eighth, Forever Super. 6-year-old return to the races. Let's go to Jason Beam.
Florida Cup Day. Otago, Adam Mesquita to the outside. The NBS orange and black colors. Goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. And stumbling and unseating the rider was Treasure King. Javier Castellano unseated there as number 5 Treasure King stumbled badly at the start. That also affected Happy Is As Happy Does, who came away a distant last. Up on the front end, it's the man up front who goes to the lead. Drama Chorus down toward the inside. Going to have to sit second. Going to switch toward the 2-path there outside of the man up front who grabs the lead into the stretch the first time around. In the second spot is Drama Chorus. Then comes a lineup of 3. Forever Super. Street Earnings is right there. And also that one's outside is Echo Lane as the loose horse joins them up to the outside. Cutting the corner is Crystal Quest, who's racing back in 7th. It's another length then back to Otago, Lord Eddard Stark. They're 2.5 clear of Bapio and Ninja Star. And a long last after the troubled beginning there is Happy Is As Happy Does. 23-1 for the opening quarter mile time. They start their journey down the back stretch, and it's the man up front who is indeed up on the lead. It's the man up front at a big price. Leads it by 4 to Drama Chorus. Forever Super, last year's champs, about 5 lengths adrift back in 3rd. Echo Lane is getting closer, 4th on the outside. Between horses then comes Street Earnings. Crystal Quest down toward the fence as they close in on this long shot leader. 46 seconds was the opening half-mile time. The man up front goes to the far turn, 3/4 in front of Drama Chorus. On the inside, Forever Super. Paco Lopez waiting for his lane is just a length and a half off the lead. Meanwhile, Echo Lane's being pushed along to go up on the outside from 4th. Trying to rally up on the extreme outside of Street Earnings. Crystal Quest stays toward the fence. Happy Is As Happy Does after that horrible beginning is launching a pretty nice rally from the back. They come into the stretch now, and Forever Super has that lane, and Forever Super coming up to quickly grab the lead away from the man up front. Now Crystal Quest, the stablemate, to that one's outside. Echo Lane is 3rd. Here's Crystal Quest coming after Forever Super. Crystal Quest on the outside. Forever Super can't go with Crystal Quest. Crystal Quest and Samuel Moreno win it. Forever Super was 2nd. 3rd went to Echo Lane. 4th looked like Street Earnings.
Stablemate able to get the best of the favorite here. It's Crystal Quest, the one who kept catching Acacia's eye. Samuel Moreno aboard.
Yeah, Paco Lopez was looking around to his right. Yeah, well, there happened to be a horse right there, your stablemate, and went right by you. Good call by Acacia. And, you know, more times than not, you look at a lot of horses in here, 6 years old, 8 years old. Most of the times, the best start in a horse's career is the 4-year-old debut. This was the 4-year-old debut for Crystal Quest.
I don't do this very often, so you know I mean it when I say it. If I could have a little piggy bank account for all the money I've lost when Paco starts looking around as if he's going to win, and then he lets himself get blind switched by a horse, Austin could go to Yale. Out of state. Out of state.
It was weird. He just tried to get into the horse late, and the horse just had no response.
Just ride the horse.
Yeah.
It's this thing, and I wish Mig was here because I would defer to him on this because I've never sat there before, so I try to act like I don't know what I'm talking about. But, man, like that whole look around, I'm loaded, I'm going to win by 6 thing seems to never work. Just go on with the horse.
It's not sexy enough. You know that, JK.
Just go on with it.
Big improvement from Crystal Quest. You know, Acacia had pointed out it's in the running lines. It faced some really good horses, and this horse has certainly improved now as a 4-year-old coming back for this new season here and picks up the 3rd win on grass. 9 career starts. Looks like bigger and better things in his future. We'll be back with prices right after this.
Bucaro, any day.
Book 'em, Dano. Prince of Monaco in between. It's going to get very close. Book 'em, Dano.
Any track.
결승선 끝까지 사전 사승. 최고의 꿈, 최고의 꿈, 최고의 꿈.
Any surface.
Queen Maxima starts to extend that beautiful stride of hers, though, and it's lights out. None of the others will come close to Queen Maxima.
Bucaro, a leading sire of stakes winners on every surface from coast to coast and around the globe. Standing in New York at Iron Horse Stallions.
Back on our Fox Sports 2 coverage here, America's Day at the Races. Play it all with Naira bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. That's how fast life moves in this sport, and certainly in the Big Apple. Get that $200 deposit match. New customer sign up. Match 200 code to punch in and sign up.
Two places I like there a lot. The Apple Store there is very cool.
And Cipriani's?
Cipriani's.
Yes. Must go there if you make a trip. How about this effort off the bench from Crystal Quest, the stablemate to the favorite? And Paul, you mentioned during the break here, newly turned 4-year-old, seems like with a lot of upside.
Yeah, this horse ran the Hall of Fame, and a great call by Acacia. Seeing this horse up in Aqueduct, up at Saratoga, but Sammy Marin gave this horse a perfect ride, kind of just tracking Paco, and you can see Paco's looking to his right, like, yeah, his horse is coming, and the one actually puts the two away pretty easily here.
Here's my thing. Let me elaborate just a little bit. You know, and I've heard Richie say this. They're not cars. There's no gas, brake, gas, brake, gas, brake, gas. You have to allow them to have their momentum. Forever Supers was in a position where they had a full tank of gas because of the trip that Paco gave the horse early. But then he slammed on the gas when it was too late. He couldn't empty the tank. Just started the 3/8 pole riding. You open up, suddenly now they can't catch you.
Settles at 3-5. Meanwhile, for second best, stablemate Crystal Quest with that win. As we move on to race 9 here, mile and a 16th on the turf. Fillies and mares 3 and up. Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff turf. Seems like a wide open group in this spot right now. Vibrant Lady at 5-2, top choice on the board.
Yeah, horse that was 15-1 on the morning line for Cherie DeVoe. Acacia's getting an update on Javier Castellano, who's listed to be aboard Vibrant Lady, but this horse is taking a ton of money right now at the window.
Got to spread a little bit here, but I love a horse on the last. If you want to play the pick 3, Good Long Cry, who I thought was involved in the best 2-year-old turf filly maiden race we saw at Saratoga this summer.
All right, we'll get to that one a little bit later. We're going to talk Quiet Side, who punched her ticket to the Kentucky Oaks with this duel that she came out on top with against Simply Joking. She is in top form right now.
And here's Tama in the final stages. The Santa Anita Derby goes to Tama. It's Tama, absolutely terrific, winning Malibu by 4 widening lengths.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
The power of Juddmonte.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Welcome back. America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. As always, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years doing the usual, unusually well. Beautiful scenics from Claiborne Farm. And a stellar afternoon of thoroughbred racing yesterday here at Oaklawn Park. And as good as Sandman was in the Arkansas Derby, Richie, you can make a strong argument the best horse race of the day took place about 45 minutes before the Arkansas Derby.
The Fantasy was as exciting a race as you're going to see. Two fillies just throwing it down, giving it their all. Quiet Side on the outside, coming off a nice win in the Honeybee, the prep. This was a brilliant ride from Jose Ortiz. He's such a smart, he's so cerebral. And he identified that he had to apply enough pressure to keep Simply Joking honest, but still have something left for the finish. And he walked that tightrope perfectly. It was as well executed a ride as you're going to see. And this is why he's riding in the form he's riding in. He's coming off being leading rider at the fairgrounds. All right, we talked about riders. Let's talk about Quiet Side. She has never run a bad race. She has shown up every single time she's competed. Now this is the third win of her career, but she's already grade 1 place. Immersive, last year's 2-year-old filly champion, handed 2 of her defeats. She's gotten very good, and John Ortiz has done a remarkable job with her. When we had the weather issues here, interrupting training, he shipped her down to his fairgrounds base so he could train her properly into it. And of course, those short-leaf stable colors in the winner's circle at Oaklawn. We've seen that quite a bit.
John Ortiz there, John Ed Anthony, Jose Ortiz. You'd love to see the fight from both fillies. If I can play devil's advocate for a moment, could you argue that that was too taxing of an effort for a final prep prior to the Kentucky Oaks?
Well, it's a very good question. Out of the two, the winner, Quiet Side, and the runner-up, Simply Joking, it's going to affect Quiet Side less because she had more foundation. This was her 7th start. She's already been in battles. She's already had the foundation put into her, where the other filly was only making her 3rd start and had to go to the mat like that. So if you're looking for one or the other to have more of an effect, I would think it would be on the runner-up more than Quiet Side, but it's a good point.
What a horse race. Maggie, your lasting impression of yesterday's Fantasy Stakes?
Well, it was on paper, and it was billed to be a 2-horse race. It certainly played out that way in a battle royale down the stretch here at Oaklawn Park. And yes, Simply Joking is a filly that was having to come off of that layoff. So as Meg alluded to, I think that time away from the races, unfortunately, you're missing that Rachel Alexandra with that illness that she was slightly sidelined for. Probably gave Quiet Side the upper hand, but at the end of the day, Quiet Side has tussled with some of the best, including Good Cheer, who is likely to be your Kentucky Oaks favorite. And besides last time when in the Martha Washington 3 starts ago, when she got a less than ideal trip and ride, she probably arguably should have won that day. I think she is heading into Kentucky with a real edge on some of her competition. So we'll see if she can turn the tables on Good Cheer when they meet in that first Friday in May, but also really happy for her trainer, John Ortiz, one of the younger guys. I saw him when he was walking back to the barn and gave him a big hug, and he said, well, it's time for the millennials to take over, because Johnny is somebody that I kind of grew up with in this game, so it was real exciting for me to see him in the spotlight. Guys.
That next generation, right? That road to the Oaks. Martha Washington, Take Charge, Milady. Scratch yesterday, didn't have a chance to see her compete. The Honeybee, Quiet Side in the Fantasy. Good Cheer is such a standout, but it does feel like maybe that gap has been closed. The speed figure, the race on paper, came back solid. I believe a 91 by her speed figure for Quiet Side yesterday.
And they put a lot of separation in the 3rd horse. There was a lot to like from the effort from both fillies. And all I got to say, these youngsters today, come on.
Youngsters on the road to the Kentucky Oaks, 3-year-old fillies. Yesterday's Fantasy, of course, last year, Torpedo Anna, winning there, winning everywhere, winning the Oaks, and of course, the 2024 Horse of the Year. As for today's racing, the program continues. Race number 6, let's meet the field post-parade as they hit the track just moments ago. Arkansas Breds, $30,000 claimer. Non-winners, 3 lifetime. Older horses, mile and a 16th. Cybertown, the current favorite to the outside, Richie, 5-2.
Yeah, very competitive field. Got to overcome that post, but you get Jose Ortiz, and he's been pushing all the right buttons.
Big weekend at Oaklawn, Jose Ortiz. You saw dinner at Crumpy's, then Ready Shoes at 8-1.
Hey, Ready Shoes, a horse that I think is going to sit a really good trip right in behind the pace, and 8-1. Very square price.
A Fleet Sky spinning his wheels of late. Then Burlsworth, that name very easy to pull for.
Stretching out for trainer Ron Moquette, who's having a tremendous meeting, should be very forward, if not on the lead here.
Bellamy's Roan. I wanted to say Bellamy Road.
I don't think anybody's going to be confusing Bellamy's Road.
No,
Bellamy
no.
Road.
Hoppin' John pictured here. In form, a contender.
Yeah, running extremely well. A horse that is also stretching back out and did win going a mile 2 back.
Shocked us last time, 36-1 winner. Miri, a coincidence.
Yeah, add speed to the affair. Another horse stepping up in company off that win and stretching out.
King Peanut off the board 5 straight. Mansura, an outsider.
Yeah, an outsider would have to improve dramatically from the current form, stepping up in class.
Cybertown make the rider Jose Ortiz.
Yeah, a really good close sprinting. Kind of runs a little bit more evenly at the longer distance, but you get Jose Ortiz.
Outside speed, Rebbe Valley.
Outside speed, tough post, particularly with other speeds coming out of sprints inside. What kind of trip does this horse get? I could see this horse getting caught fairly wide into the first turn.
Arkansas Breds, mile and a 16th. $30,000 restricted claimer, 5 minutes out. We check in with Maggie.
And we'll check in with the horse who just, well, is battling for favoritism, we'll say, as he does pick up Jose Ortiz. I wonder if, some of these horses that Jose is picking up are going to get more attention on the board than what they would have. But I will say this, Cybertown in very good form as he does stretch back out in distance. He is devoid of speed, and he was able to rally very well in between horses and then kind of drifted down to the inside and then blew past the winner a couple strides after the wire. And Cybertown, he looks great, and he is built more like a horse that wants this route of ground, as his resume would suggest, 3 for 10 at the distance. But let's check in with horses that are stretching out, but they do have experience with doing so in one start each, including number 4, Burlsworth. And now he is a horse that in his third start of his career stretched out to a mile and a 16th, finished second that day, and has come back as a now 4-year-old and has shown that he is better. So I'm wondering, because that mile and a 16th as an early 3-year-old was his best race in that form cycle, could the stretch out actually get him to his best race now, just looking as though he's a better horse? The board would suggest yes, that's an absolute possibility. And looking at him, I think it is too. He's big, he has conserved his energy quite well, and I think he will appreciate this added ground as a long shot in here that he's actually not that big of a long shot. He's 8-1, King Peanut. So taking some attention, you go back and you look at his lone mile and a 16th effort. It was 2 years ago nearly, but it was in a stakes race against some formidable Arkansas breds, and that was when he was only a 3-year-old. So he was tackling older rivals at that point in a stakes race. And looking at him, he looks sensational, much as he did the last time I saw him. So I'm okay with him stretching back out in distance. And I do think in that particular race, which was his fastest to date, he did face some tough company. And then I like what Richie had to say about number 2, Ready Shoes. He was a horse that kind of caught my eye. Well beaten third last time behind a much the best Man in the Can. But he was well back off a fairly fast pace, but now he gets back to a fast track for the first time. And you look back, his start 4 ago was his fastest race over a fast track. So a horse that can kind of handle any surface, but really made a lovely impression out on the racetrack and back in the paddock, Lafitte.
Live at a price maybe here, Richie. Ready Shoes.
I like Ready Shoes a little bit. Also, it's the third start off the layoff. Horses sometimes need to kind of race into condition. Maggie, said getting back to a fast track. I think he sits a good trip too, because I think there's ample speed signed on in this race. That's one thing we see pretty consistently at Oaklawn. We get pretty fair paces here. Very rarely do you see horses just get to walk the dog and gallop along on the lead. The riders here tend to be aggressive.
He's some aggressive riding in yesterday's Arkansas Derby. Far cry from that here, just this restricted $30,000 claimer as we take another look at the favorite in Burlsworth, named after legendary Arkansas Razorback walk-on football player Brandon Burlsworth. Brandon, who passed tragically in 2010. Honored, remembered, terribly missed. And, of course, the Burlsworth Trophy, presented to college football's finest linebacker each and every year. Like I said, Richie, it's don't have to know a lot about horse racing to know that story, who this horse is named after, to have a rooting interest in this one.
Oh, absolutely. And this horse did stretch out once before last March and ran extremely well, was second best that day. And now it's come back with two really good efforts for Ron Moquett, who all of his horses have been running well. He has 27 wins at the meet, but he also has 18 seconds, 11 thirds. Trainer can get them ready. Then he's got to turn the horse over to the rider and hope that he gets the trips that they're looking for. His stable's going well, I should say.
The pageantry yesterday, I thought a really nice touch. The Razorback marching band here at Oaklawn Park in between races.
Well, it just lent to the festivity, the festive feeling that was here already, and just added to it, right? And it was really something to see. I'm always amazed at how coordinated they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
if
I could play an instrument, I couldn't imagine doing it, with everybody else in sync.
In formation and step. Great job yesterday. And, yeah, just that big event, big game, big race day feel from start to finish all throughout the program here on Oaklawn's signature day of racing.
Yeah, they really, everything was hitting on all cylinders. The racing office put together an incredible card, full fields for the most part.
The racing lived up to it.
And the racing
doesn't always.
Up to it.
Right?
No, sometimes we come away and we're disappointed. Mm-hmm. There was nothing disappointing about yesterday on every level.
Arkansas Derby Saturday, winding down Arkansas Derby weekend. And with these Arkansas breds, final thoughts as they approach. Still 2-1 the choice here, Richie.
Yeah, and listen, he's obviously a major contender, but I think he's got to avoid getting caught up with some of the other speeds, because there are a few horses here that I don't think are major contenders that have speed, and those are the kind of horses that could mess up your race if you get involved with them. Getting him to settle should be the key. Now, I don't think he'll be far off the pace. I just would hate to see him get overly engaged with somebody.
And another example of a horse that might not be the fastest, most talented on the backstretch, but a claimer who has class and wants to win. That last win, the agility that he displayed in the stretch and the fight to the wire. Again, not the most talented horse in Ron Moquett's stable, but an absolute fighter.
And listen, that's all you can ask of a horse, to give you an honest effort, to show up. I like my horses the way I like my people, honest and hardworking. Bring your lunch pail, go to work.
That's Burlsworth, aptly named, and the favorite in the 6th race at Oaklawn Park, 5-2 at post time. Matt Dinnerman with the call.
Cybertown, Jose Ortiz picking up the mount here, of course, off a big day yesterday, winning both the Fantasy and the Arkansas Derby. Burlsworth loads 2 back. Bellamy's Roan to post 5. To the outside post, Reveille Valley. We're ready to go. And we're off. Good beginning for all. A lineup in the first 100 yards. Burlsworth has speed with Miri a Coincidence. They share the top spot early as they approach the first turn run. They're bunched up here as they corner into that turn. Burlsworth, a narrow leader here on Miri a Coincidence. King Peanut, who's 3 wide. Reveille Valley is farther out, trying to cross over here and get towards the lead, but it's Burlsworth in command. Burlsworth 3 parts of a length ahead. Miri a Coincidence backs off just a little bit in second. Reveille Valley is third, and the other gray, Bellamy's Roan, fourth in a pocket on a hold. King Peanut a half length off of him. Then Dinner at Crumpy, Cybertown to the outside. A length and a half back to Ready Shoes and a Fleet Sky. They're 2 better than Hoppin' John. And Mansora is last as they head down the backstretch. Burlsworth went 23-3 for the first quarter mile. It's a contentious pace, but a modest pace at that. The half at 48-1. It's Burlsworth setting at the fractions. A half length in front of Miri a Coincidence. And Reveille Valley, who's 3 wide, showing a little more rain as they go into the turn. Cybertown and King Peanut are moving as a pair. King Peanut a clear fourth. Cybertown now in the fifth position as Bellamy's Roan gives way on the rail. Ready Shoes trying to pass horses. He's in an all-out drive now. Hoppin' John's following his move. He's 7 lengths behind under a ride, passing a few, though, as they come to the top of the lane. Burlsworth at the top of the stretch cuts the corner. King Peanut continues a sustained run in second. Cybertown's finding room up the rail. Here he comes. Cybertown and Jose Ortiz after King Peanut. And down the extreme outside, coming with a nice effort here is Ready Shoes. Extreme outside, Hoppin' John's trying to kick it in, but Cybertown up the inside, kicks away. Cybertown by 2, coming to the finish. Cybertown gets the buddy, and Cybertown gives Ingrid Mason a double today. Hoppin' John was second, Ready Shoes third, King Peanut fourth.
Since we've been on the air, 2 horses supposed to be ridden by Christian Torres that won with other riders. In this case, it's Jose Ortiz, and Cybertown up the inside strikes. It took a lot of late money, 9-5 at post time. Wow.
From post 10, Jose Ortiz found his way to the inside. He is riding in career form. And this is a guy who's already won an Eclipse Award, super accomplished, and I think he's riding better than he's ever ridden in his entire life. He's taken it to another level. He's finishing strong. He's seeing the ball. He just gave this horse a classic kind of ride. And it shows you, it doesn't matter if it's a 30 claimer or if it's a grade 1, you're getting this kind of effort. You get it both from Jose and Irad Ortiz consistently.
Another win here for Jose Ortiz. Cybertown, 10-6-2-8. Meantime, Greg, riders up at Tampa.
Yes, they are. Thank you. Getting set for this wide open mile and 16th turf contest. And Vibrant Lady Cherie DeVoe is the current favorite right now. The only try on turf, it was a win in the second start of her career. She's been off since late January.
Yeah, and a horse that's going to be ridden by Luis Saez. Now, Javier Castellano is not off all of his mounts, right, Greg?
We're going to have an update from Acacia in a moment, but I believe that is the case. I'm just going to sit this one out.
I'll tell you this, Wolfie. When it comes to City of Light, this horse obviously has had fierceness, what everyone knows about, but this horse produces grass winners as well.
We'll get back to the 8 in a moment. Here's Seat at the table, Mark Cassidy, and Speed Inside.
Yeah, Speed Inside is dangerous. We've seen it quite a bit. You can make great moves down on the inside to save ground.
Turf debut coming up for Lady Lala.
Yeah, horse that, like you said, getting on turf for the first time. Kathleen O'Connell's a very good turf trainer.
Wow, Paul. That was a 3. Princess Brittany.
That's what I was saying. Kathleen O'Connell.
No, I'm saying you do the 4.
16-1 on Princess Brittany for Kathleen O'Connell.
Another Kathleen O'Connell horse that's going to go to the front. Got some speed.
If anyone was wondering how the sausage is made, we do the odds and evens. Sometimes it gets tricky with scratches.
Chick Shadow went by. Here's Amada.
Amada for Daniel Damon here. Almost won last time, first time on turf.
Here's Lady Cha-Cha. Saffy Joseph Jr. trains.
Look, closing into a slow pace. One of my favorite angles in turf racing.
Deserving to be favored here off that one turf effort? The 8?
I don't know, but Louis does get a board for Cherie. Cherie's had 2 starters at this meet. They both run second.
14-1. I thought the 9 was a player here.
Absolutely. Has a little bit of tactical speed in terms of their position, but will need to get just a taste faster.
And 2 big contenders outside. Here's one of them, Mohawk Trail.
Mohawk Trail. Been running on the synthetic the last couple of times and has got fast numbers. I think it's a little lazy to assume they'll like the turf, but has run well in the turf on the path.
And the big win off the bench, Paulie, for Let's Go Coco last start.
You know, we talk about 4-year-old debuts. This filly had her 4-year-old debut last time out, and she won nicely, but she draws the complete outside today.
All right, for those of you watching on Fox Sports 2, we're going to have to leave you momentarily. We're going to go to the Fox Sports app in about a minute here, so you can continue to watch our coverage as we have to briefly sign off here on our FS2 coverage, but that's where you can find us. Naira Bets, Naira YouTube, New York Racing Association page, and the Fox Sports app. That's where we will continue on and pick things up with this Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff Turf. Wide open affair here coming up. We're underway as well in the Pick 5 at Oaklawn. We have the Hot Springs still to come, and gaming back for Bob Baffert. Runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, trying to put that poor effort in that Southwest behind him. That's coming up in race 7. That is next out at Oaklawn Park. So a lot more coverage coming up. We'll see you on those outlets online here in just a few moments. Back with you with our live coverage from Tampa Bay Downs, and big one coming up at Oaklawn as well, with gaming set to return for Bob Baffert. But first things first, this Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff Turf, 5-2 favorite, Vibrant Lady for Cherie DeVoe. Let's check in with Acacia Clement.
We'll start there with Vibrant Lady, who was originally named to have Javier Castellano as her rider. Unfortunately, he was unseated at the start in the last race. I got a chance to catch up with Dennis Jackson, the clerk of scales here at Tampa. Did say that Javier was being inspected by the paramedics, complaining of a little pain in his left wrist. Of course, they inspect his head, given that the helmet did really protect everything, but with concussion protocols, they have to go through all of the steps. But from what I'm being told, overall he is okay and was able to walk off on his own power, which is great news. He is sitting this race out, and Luis Saez will pick up the mount on the number 8 Vibrant Lady. His only other mount today is in race 11, which I'm told is still up in the air whether he will ride that race or not, but certainly will provide an update as I get it. But as far as the filly is concerned, I'm with Jonathan. I have always, from the beginning, loved City of Lights on the turf, and this one is no exception. Beautifully put together filly as well, kind of a typical of those City of Lights as well. 2 starts back when she won on the turf, was finishing strong when waiting for room. I thought it was a nice effort, and I do think that she's getting back under preferred surface. Obviously, she has less seasoning than some of the other main contenders in here, but she could just be getting back onto the grass, which is what she's been waiting for all along. Now, the number 1 seat at the table is trying to make it 4 wins in a row. Mark Cassidy has this filly going great guns right now, and she has held herself so well. She is big, she's broad and powerful. Typically, I like the progeny of the Factor sprinting on the turf, but this filly excels going long. I don't mind a little cut back to the 1/16, and looking at her, and I even commented a couple races back that she's built like a colt, and she's held that with frequent racing, regular racing, and with winning. You like to see them come back so strong in their next race. Obviously, the water has gotten deeper and deeper as she's continued. I mean, just back in December, 1 in a 25,000 non-winners of 2, and it's certainly much tougher today, but I have a lot of respect for her and her versatility with being able to stalk or show speed. As far as the 11 Mohawk Trail, yes, don't initially just look at synthetic and say, yes, it's going to transfer. However, this mare is a graded stakes winner on the grass up at Woodbine and has run good races all along, including in this race last year and finishing 2nd on the turf. So she's already shown an affinity for the grass and that she can run those fast speed figures on the turf. I was actually talking with Adam Beschizza back in the paddock, and he was saying that he was really concerned about the post because he did feel that she runs her best races when she's forward, and also on this turf course, it's a benefit to be kind of in that first flight position and not left with too much to do. So Mohawk Trail needs to break strong and get into that early forward position, but I liked her getting back on the grass, and she's taking attention as she should be, Greg.
Thank you for that, Acacia. And by the way, she gets our Road Warrior of the Week award. What'd she get at 3 a.m. this morning from Hot Springs?
Yes. Her alarm, she said she went off at 3 a.m. I do want to ask Acacia on her next hit. I don't want to try to jam her up now while they're going to the gate, but does she snooze? I want to. Okay, well, Acacia, hi. This is Jonathan. I wanted to know. Jonathan. This is weird to say that on TV. I want to know if you hit snooze. And I also would like to know, do you have that very annoying, the one that sounds like a siren that like the world's coming to an end? Is that the sound you have when you have your alarm?
No, I have the normal iPhone alarm. I don't even know what the name of it is. But I woke up at 2 a.m. and I shot out of bed just convinced that I had missed my alarm. And I looked over and I was like, oh my God, I have another hour that I could sleep. I'm wasting this time being awake right now. So I tried to go back to sleep, but I ended up being okay. But it's that feeling of like, you have to get up. I'm usually not a plane sleeper. I fly a lot. Usually can't sleep well on planes. I was able to sleep on one of the flights a bit today, but I'm into the bridle. I'm feeling good here. I'm feeling fresh and ready for this Tampa card, guys.
Well, tremendous job, and that is logging a lot of miles.
You don't realize
over 24 hours.
You don't realize it's an hour and 15 minutes from Oaklawn to just get to Little Rock Bill Clinton Airport. So that's a drive into itself. So getting up at 4 in the morning to get to the airport and try to get a cab, too, at that time in the morning.
And the other thing is, she doesn't complain or say it, where everyone else on this staff would be complaining nonstop, not Acacia.
I'm complaining for her.
3-1 favorite, Vibrant Lady, the 8 here, Cherie DeVoe Barn, and it will be Luis Saez filling in, for Javier Castellano on this mount. And we'll see if she could take a step forward. She's got to face some good ones, as Acacia said, a graded stakes winner in the 11 Mohawk Trail.
I don't typically get carried away with the morning line movement, right? Because a lot of times in a situation like that, there can be scratches that can make it a little bit tricky. But also more than that, like it's the morning line for all of those out there. It's a prediction of what someone who's very smart believes is going to happen. Someone who has a lot of information predicting what the public is going to bet. So a lot of times I don't get too carried away with it. But the movement from 15-1 to 3-1.
Some morning lines, though, a little more reliable than others.
Of course. I will jump off a bridge to say that my man, David Arangota,
best in the business,
is the best in the business. He's outstanding. He sometimes jams me in a locker with some of his opinions that he has that make a ton of sense. At the end when it's all said and done.
It is an incredibly hard job, and he is tremendous at it. We'll see what happens here with Vibrant Lady, 3-1. Cherie DeVoe, start number 2 on the turf, a maiden claiming victory, and now tackling much, much deeper waters as we get set for this Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff Turf. Jason Beam, the call.
Start here. The Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff Turf. Let's go Coco to the outside. They're in the gate. And the race is on. The Pleasant Acres Stallions Distaff Turf. Slow start there for Amata, who hopped at the beginning. Princess Brittany flashing some good early speed. Let's go Coco from the outside is forwardly placed. And right between them, Vibrant Lady was out in third. As they come toward the wire the first time, it's Princess Brittany a length in front of Let's Go Coco in the second position. They go 3.5 ahead already of Seat at the Table and Vibrant Lady, who are out third and fourth. Length more back to Lady Lala, who's tugging on heels there in fifth. Chick Shadows right to that one's inside in sixth. Then comes Dreaming of Abba and Lady Cha-Cha. They race together seventh and eighth. As up front, Princess Brittany went a little wide into the turn. It's 2 more back to Mohawk Trail, and Amata is the early trailer. So they start their run down to the back stretch, 22 and 3, and Princess Brittany continues to race off the rail. It's Princess Brittany a length and a half in front. A seam now for Let's Go Coco. Princess Brittany now working back toward the inside. So it's Princess Brittany in front, a length and a half. Let's Go Coco is second. 2.5 more back to Seat at the Table. Vibrant Lady continues on fourth, 4.5 off the top. Starting to launch a bid. On the outside goes Lady Lala, who's getting a little bit closer. Chick Shadow stays to the inside. Then comes Lady Cha-Cha. 45 and 4. It's been a very strong pace for Princess Brittany, who leads them to the far turn. Now Seat at the Table. Comes off the rail to come after this long shot leader. Vibrant Lady going to go right with that one as those two come up alongside of Princess Brittany. Seat at the Table narrowly to the front. Vibrant Lady going to go with that one. Lady Cha-Cha swings into action in the blue colors, orange cap. Mohawk Trails even on the scene in behind. Runner's going to wheel to the far outside, trying to get through. Let's Go Coco got shut off at the rail. A final furlong left to go in a slew of chances. Lady Cha-Cha on the outside of Seat at the Table. Chick Shadow comes through along the fence. Mohawk Trail right down the far outside. They come to the final 16th of a mile. Mohawk Trail. Lady Cha-Cha battles on a Chick Shadow. Mohawk Trail in front late. Mohawk Trail to win it. Lady Cha-Cha looked to grab second from Dreaming of Abba. Third after that, Chick Shadow. Seat at the Table in Amata.
Mohawk Trail, the former graded stakes winner, Kelsey Danner Barn and Adam Beschitza. 5th win on the grass.
Good draw by Adam Beschitza to get this horse over from the 11 slot. And a horse that likes the Tampa racetrack. Now 2 for 5 with a second and a third. And run down the 7 here, Lady Cha-Cha, who had a really good trip and it looked like the 8 was just a little bit over bet and maybe just a little bit over ahead.
I tell you, man, Tampa Bay Downs, the public there, the horse players there, they love to see a name they recognize. The 8 Vibrant Lady for Sri DeVoe was really nowhere.
And this horse was the lowest will pay, so the bettors got it right with this horse.
Mohawk Trail, impressive here. With the victory, I'll have those prices when we come back. Stakes action next from Hot Springs with the Hot Springs, and Bob Baffert back with gaming. Disappointed in the Southwest, was thinking about that Virginia Derby at Colonial, but spiked a fever. So we'll see if he can get back on track today.
The brilliance of the legendary Arrowgate and the speed and stamina of the sire of sires, Uncle Mo. Introducing Petulante, the first son of Arrowgate to stand in New York after winning handily at first asking.
Petulante! He's got a kick here, and he's going to prove much the best.
He won or placed in all 7 of his lifetime starts, including the Grade 3 Salvatore Mile.
Petulante, Nimbus class, Petulante!
Petulante, now standing in New York. For information, visit ihdvstallions.com today.
Back in our Sunday coverage here on America's Day at the races, Mohawk Trail. Adam Beschizza aboard for Kelsey Danner. 5 for 15 now on the lawn.
Yeah, congratulations to Kelsey and Adam Beschizza. Mare by Pioneer of the Nile out of the Indian Charlie mare. Iroquois Girl. Now 6 for 18 lifetime. Wow, she did go off as your favorite. Did she go off your favorite or slight favorite there, 2-1?
Has run well at a lot of different racetracks, right? Gulfstream, Indiana,
Woodbine, yeah.
Woodbine.
And on synthetic,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, for sure.
To Hot Springs for the Hot Springs. Here we go. Gaming back. Runner-up last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile behind his stablemate Citizen Bull. Tailed off a little bit since that. Bob Baffert said maybe I brought him back a little bit too quick. Now he's been rested a bit since the Southwest. What will we get today? Let's go to Maggie Wolfendale.
Yeah, let's check in with Gaming as he's looking to get back on track here. But the last time I saw him for that Southwest, I don't remember him getting as revved up as what he is today. He was a bit tough for connections to get the saddle on. He's kind of bowling his way out of that saddling stall. And when they had to come across here to get riders up in the infield, he was really giving poor Jimmy Barnes quite a fit on his offside. So he's settled down a bit, but do watch him as they get out on the racetrack. Now, physically, he is a specimen. I mean, he's a very good-looking horse, but it also makes me think about his race record, his best efforts, and I know he ran well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but that was a bit of a merry-go-round race, but his best efforts before that were his first two, and they were sprinting. So while he looks like a horse that should run long, I'm wondering if his disposition lends itself better to a horse that is more of a sprinting type. So we'll find out more here today. As Clever again is his main rival for Steve Asmussen, and he just won for fun last time out. So comfortable in the front end. His ears were perked up from the time they sprung the latch, and it was, I know he was favored that day and he did it comfortably, but it was quite a feat to come back off of a debut in early in your 2-year-old season, which he did at Keeneland. So he looks great here. He's so well composed. He's very classy acting. I'm not sure if I'd want to see him go, I say this knowing his pedigree, too much further, but there is the pedigree. He's an American Pharaoh, as you heard Meg say earlier, out of a dam, who won a Group 3 going a mile and a half on turf, albeit. So I really like the way he's acting and his appearance. Now, a horse that caught my eye that also could be more of a pace presence, not necessarily a win candidate, is number 2. Max got excited. It is more of a sprinting family, and that might be all he wants to do. But he's a big, good-looking horse. He is quite revved up, and he does have that inside draw. So as I was saying, Lafitte, look for him to be forwardly placed here. And it makes me also wonder, what are they going to do with gaming here, and what kind of pace scenario is going to play out?
Something to watch right from the start of this Hot Springs overhead view. Oaklawn Park on this gorgeous Sunday afternoon, and as winter becomes spring in the bigger races and the Racing Festival of the Southridge, it always adds another layer, more texture when you see the horses prepared there in the infield, gearing up for a stakes race here towards the latter part of the meet.
Oh, absolutely. It's brilliant. And this is a beautiful infield, too. You really, the flowers and everything's blooming now. We're dealing with some pollen, but,
You'll live. You'll be just fine. Who will be in front in the lane and the stretch of this Hot Springs? Find out in about 7 minutes. Let's meet the field of these 3-year-olds. 1 mile. And gaming odds on 4-5, looking to salvage the weekend for trainer Bob Baffert. Yesterday with the favorite, seeking a 6th win in the Arkansas Derby. Things did not work out for Cornucopian. We'll see about gaming and keeping an eye on how he's handling himself, as Maggie mentioned, as revved up as he is pre-race.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want a horse to lose their race before the race, right? In the post-braid or in the paddock or the saddling area. You want them to contain that as much as possible, right? At a perfect world, they're at a simmering point. You don't want them to boil over.
Let's meet the field. Max got excited. Daylight maiden win 2 weeks ago.
Maggie made some great points about this horse stretching out and the fact that he could show more pace, particularly on the stretch out.
3 is out, 4 is in. Ola Joey, 2nd in the Ozark.
This horse is an honest, game little horse. I like him quite a bit, but he pulls sprinting. So he's another horse stretching out that could get involved early.
Tyler Bacon aboard. Clever again, as Maggie mentioned. Impressive maiden score. Jose Ortiz looking to go back-to-back.
Yeah, very impressive. And just, Maggie, you get to about 4.5 to a mile and a 16th. Big effort. Does he rate a little bit today, considering the amount of pace that may be signed on?
Bout Tree Fitty. Great name.
Would be a bit of a surprise.
Gaming would not be. Gaming, Grade 1 winner, Breeders' Cup Juvenile, runner-up.
Yeah, and keep an eye on him here. You can see he's gotten a bit hot. Listen, you want a horse to get a bit of a sweat on a hot day. That might be a little bit excessive.
I don't know if it's that hot here today, Richie. Perfect Force really improved as a 3-year-old.
Really improved as a 3-year-old. Now, was it turning 2 to 3, or was it the fact that he competed on Lasix in his last 2 starts, which were his 2 best races? He had never competed on Lasix before. Today, he does not get Lasix, this being a stakes race.
The Hot Springs in 5 minutes. Gaming is the favorite. Clever again, a contender, trained by Steve Asmussen with Maggie.
That's right, and Clever again, Steve, a horse really won nicely last time out in his first start back as a 3-year-old. Did it on the front end, though. Feels like there's some other pace in here. What are you hoping to see from him early on?
I like how he acted pre-race, obviously going to the end. I thought he showed some maturity. I was very concerned about that second time, this year. And I think that the horse is physically capable, but he seems to have a confidence about him that he's not going to rush himself. And obviously with the week Jose's having, he knows where he wants to be on the racetrack. So it's a very good test for him, and I love the conditions for it.
Absolutely. And two, we got to catch up with Publisher, as you said. So far, so good this morning.
Oh, very much so. You know, we're proud of the run that he's put in. You know, the horse, still a maiden, but I think gets him 60 points. He's putting it together. Publisher, he's another horse. Very kind in the mornings. It transferred over to the afternoon. I think we had 68,000 plus here yesterday. He took it in stride, did what he can do, and he's getting better at the right time. But just extremely fortunate to be in that position.
That is exciting. And like you said, still hasn't found the winner's circle, but boy, he runs well every time.
Absolutely. The irony of, we run the most races without winning the Derby. Maybe we needed a maiden to get there, but it's just a great story with a very nice horse.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck here with a nice colt.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Could you imagine Steve Asmussen, all those runners in the Derby, Gun Runner who finished third to American Pharoah in 15, Epicenter, beat by Rich Strike, an 80-1 shot a couple of years ago, as close as he's been. Could you imagine if he pulled it off and won his first Derby with a horse who's never won a race in his career?
That would be something, wouldn't it? I mean, but listen,
almost fitting.
The way the horse ran yesterday, he belongs. He's in that group, and he's earned his berth into the Derby. One race should not define anybody's career, but I'm sure that he would love to have that win on his resume.
And you have been a fan all along. Publisher, big effort, second place finish yesterday in the Arkansas Derby behind Sandman. As for Asmussen's runner here, Clever again, winding up. Let's revisit his maiden tally. First race, Rebel Stakes Day. This was his first route, his second career start. Clever again, and Jose Ortiz in command.
To come off a layoff and be able to shrug off, the challenges the way he did and continue to find. And one thing about Steve, he's not going to gear a horse up just to get that one win out of them, right, to break their maiden. He develops a horse to kind of continually improve and face the task at hand. I would expect an even better effort today, particularly the way Steve trains.
As Maggie and Steve were discussing, race shape and strategy this time for Clever again and Jose Ortiz.
It just feels like there's more speed signed on here than what he faced, obviously, in the maiden effort, but especially with horses stretching out from 6 furlongs to 2 turns. At first blush, a lot of people look at the form and go, well, a horse like Max got excited. Well, he came from off the pace sprinting. They go 22, 21 and change, 45. If they go 46 and change, that's probably 6 lengths slower than what he was, facing last time. A horse like Ola Joey. I mean, he's right in behind horses pulling when they're going 45. So I think there's a lot more speed than people might realize at first blush.
How will that work out for Clever again? Gaming, even money. And Gaming, who was this close to a championship, to a 2-year-old title, as he's chasing his stablemate in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, listen, he went off at 6-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and chased Citizen Bull, who just got to control on the front end, and he was very game, and this was a big effort. The other question you have to ask yourself, now he was completely unlucky in the Southwest. Are you sure as good as he was going to be at 2? Looking at him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile there, at least on TV, he looked like a very mature horse. He did not look like a 2-year-old.
And hoping for much better fortune in his second start at Oaklawn Park. Gaming, and right from the start, right about here, door slammed, sawed off going into the first turn of the Southwest.
Yeah, he didn't break very sharp, and then everything went sideways. Here comes that wave of horses from the outside. You're at the beach, big old wave comes, curls over, knocks you down, rolls you around in the sand and the shells. That's what happened to him going to the first turn.
How do you think he responds?
Well, yeah, I think that really points out that he's got to be forward. I don't think he wants any part of kickback or getting that kind of pressure. At least he's got a better draw. He's more towards the outside.
Keeping a close eye on Gaming. Maggie also with a close eye on the colt that'll break to his outside. The colt with the edge and experience, Perfect Force.
Yeah, and he's had quite a heavy workload since returning as a 3-year-old. This will be his 3rd start in just a month. But having that in mind, he seems to be responding well, at least from my vantage point. Considering he's a horse I only saw as a 2-year-old up in Saratoga. Mentally, he's matured tenfold. A horse that used to get himself a bit hot and wound up isn't today, which is always good considering the quick turnaround. The problem is, and as Mick said it, what has made him better? Is it purely just being another year older? Well, if that's the case, then he's a legitimate contender. Is it the Lasix? Well, he has to run without it today. Or is it because he's more of a sprinter? That's the one that actually concerns me the most. I know he's a gun runner, but he is out of a Smoke Glackenmare, and that's a bit more, sprint influence, and he's a bit more of a shorter, more stout and compact type of runner. So we'll see what he brings to the table. He's a lot of question marks in my estimation. And look, he's 6-1 because the other two are battling for favoritism here. So if you like him, don't let me talk you off a 6-1 shot, but for me, it's just too many question marks, Lafitte.
Lots to prove still, Richie. Perfect Force, though, on the improve.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about Perfect Force, yes, by gun runner, but his dam Quaba was a sprinter. She won stakes sprinting. Her sire, Smoke Glacken, did win the Southwest when it was a 1-mile race, but he was
champion sprinter, I believe, as well.
Champion sprinter, a Grade 1 winning sprinter. So, we try to put all of these things together: pedigree, what we see physically. How horses do things, their demeanor, are they keen, do they listen to their riders, to try to decipher if they're going to be capable of being as effective stretching out. This horse is very good sprinting. There are a lot of questions, but he has been in good form here right now.
Perfect Force. Wayne Lucas, gaming the favorite. Bob Baffert, speaking with Bob yesterday, this initially was the plan for Cornucopian for his 2nd career start, as well as he was training, as well as he breezing better than stablemate Barnes, in fact. The audible at that point and the decision to run Cornucopian in yesterday's Arkansas Derby. And look, we don't, in terms of ability, in terms of talent, we'll see how things unfold moving forward. But the way the race unfolded, Man of War Secretariat, nobody was going to win that Arkansas Derby where he was early on in that speed duel with Speed King.
I don't think that he lost anything as far as, he has ability. And if anything, he showed an amazing amount of determination to hang around and be 4th. He could have just stopped to a walk and been eased after, that kind of a pace battle. So we'll see him. He'll be
now
back.
Let's see how he responds.
Yes.
That's really, I think, the question, and see what Cornucopian does moving forward. And look forward to seeing him resurface before long. His stablemate is here, gaming the even money favorite, as we've reached post time for the Hot Springs, live from Oaklawn on Fox Sports 2. Here's Matt Dinnerman.
And they're off in the Hot Springs Stakes. The big long shot, Bout Tree Fitty. Away slowly. Clever again, right to the lead. From the word go, gets in a good gallop, gaming the big favorite on the outside, moving up. In fact, the top 2 choices in the wagering, they actually both went off at even money, so they go into the turn. Clever again, 1.5 lengths clear of gaming. The 2 favorites, 1-2. Clever again with his own way on the lead today. On the inside, Ola Joey, inside of gaming. He's now taking back to 3rd here. 1.5 lengths to Perfect Force. Max got excited, and they're 5 or 6 clear of Bout Tree Fitty, the slow starter out of the gate. They're down the back stretch here. Clever again with the ears pricked. Leads a length from gaming, showing a little more rain to get after. Clever again down the back stretch run here. On the inside, Ola Joey is 3rd. 2 lengths off the pace. 1.5 lengths to Perfect Force. Another 3 back to Max got excited. And Bout Tree Fitty has been outrun as they approach the 4-turn run. Clever again into the turn. Still a length in front. John Velasquez asking more from gaming. And Clever again appears to be going better than gaming at this point. Clever again rounding the turn, opening up 2 lengths. Now it's 2.5, and gaming, he's in trouble. He's dropping back. Perfect Force taking the 2nd position under a hard ride. Clever again. He's clearly the one to beat. Looks like Jose Ortiz thinks this horse has plenty of energy for the stretch run as he turns for home, asks him to turn on the afterburners, and he opens up 2.5. Gaming reclaiming 2nd from Perfect Force, but Clever again, a very exciting prospect in the 3-year-old division. television in the Winchell Thoroughbred colors. What a great weekend for Jose Ortiz. And it is Clever again to romp in the hot springs. Gaming second best. Perfect Force was third. And Max Got Excited was fourth.
What a weekend is right. Jose Ortiz, the one in the fantasy quiet side, the one in the Arkansas Derby Sandman in this very promising 3-year-old. Clever again, back-to-back victories. Winchell Thoroughbreds, Steve Asmussen.
This was a sweet performance. He jetted away from the gate. He broke as clean as a horse can break. I won't say the same for Gaming, who I thought broke actually just a little bit sluggishly, but Clever again got so comfortable. You saw down the backstretch the feet, flicking his ears back and forth, really enjoying himself.
Saw that in his maiden win.
Man, he just kicked away. Gaming came under a hard ride from about 3 furlongs out under Johnny Velasquez and was game to stay on for second.
I thought he was throwing in the towel, rounding the far turn.
Yeah, because Perfect Force moved up inside of him, momentum, and it looked like he was going to, at least, outgame him for second. And Gaming lived up to his name. He was game to be second, but no doubt about the winner. This is a nice prospect, Clever again, particularly with that pedigree that says he should stay on.
High profile, world-class connections. Clever again, onward and upward. Poised to, look, we're not talking about we're not talking about a first Saturday in May here, but this is one of those 3-year-olds throughout the remainder of the season, later on this summer, a name that in a colt that could do some serious damage within the 3-year-old ranks.
Listen, we get very hung up on looking at the Triple Crown
Yeah,
Trail,
we
and
do.
rightfully so, the Kentucky Derby. But there's a whole second half of the year, and this looks like a horse that we need to keep an eye on the second half of the year when we start talking about races like the Travers, the Midsummer's Derby.
Might be that good. Maybe, just maybe. See what his trainer thinks. Steve Asmussen live with Maggie.
Yeah, I know where you watch your races, so I know where to find you.
I love watching races up the stretch, watching them go by you. You know, you can tell how they're keeping their hind end under them and stuff. I thought the horse actually looked better today than he did in his maiden race. Concern out of the maiden race was the weather, whether the racetrack was still frozen that early or whatever. But, man, he was away sharp today. Love how he acted pre-race. You know, big question now is if we, Pat Day Mile or keep him in 2 turns, But, man, he's very handy. He's very handy. Looked like he was there easy. 46 and change here's a very good half mile, let alone for a 3-year-old, but he obviously handled it well.
He was really, really impressive. Future bright for him. Quickly, I want to ask you about your fillies as well later, but Vigidoll coming back off of the layoff. What can we expect from her?
Well, she's feeling very sharp. I need her to find 11 and change. Quit wanting to go 10. Just take a breath and level out and stuff with her. Eric's done a good job with her in the morning. Hopefully he can get it to transfer to the afternoon. And I think Miss Martini's a filly that just needs a little more foundation to try anybody.
Well, enjoy this one with Clever again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Guys.
All right, so maybe he will run the first Saturday in May. Just a Pat Day Mile instead of the Kentucky Derby.
Yes. Again, Steve is a guy who into preparing a horse for a career, right? Continually getting them to improve.
Clever again, and some decisions to make moving forward. Those are good problems to have for North America's all-time leading trainer in terms of victories.
Good problems to have. And one thing about Steve, from $5,000 claimers to champions, his barn is well covered.
And from Oaklawn to Tampa Bay Downs, riders up for the Naira Bet Sprint, Greg Wolf.
Yeah, and here we go with our post parade. Thank you, little feed. Here's Hurricane Nelson. His 4-year-old return was a big effort.
Yeah, it was a big effort. Won by 5 at 2-5 that day. You're getting 5-2 today. He brings a lot of speed to the table.
Favored at 5-2. Rookie, very interesting. He's won back-to-back starts, one on turf, one on dirt.
Yeah, look, he had a good dirt race 2 back, but he had a lifetime best last time on the turf. Maybe he's just in good form.
There he is, 5-1. Sammy Camacho for the Gerald Bennett barn with his 4-year-old. Comedy Town, Saffie Joseph Jr., and this horse battle-tested.
Yeah, very battle-tested. 6 for 30 lifetime with 400,000 in the bank. 1 of 2 for Saffie Joseph in this race.
Multiple stakes winner as well. Here's Chrome Ghost, off since January 11th.
Yeah, ran well back then in January 11th, but was a vet scratch on March 12th. A little bit of a concern, trying to decide how this horse will run here today.
Mattingly's been going primarily on grass.
Yeah, his 2 dirt starts, one was at Gulfstream Park, or both of them were. Did not run that badly, but like you said, more of a turf horse for me.
Here's Classify, another Saffie Joseph Jr. runner with Dylan Davis.
Yeah, this horse has some speed, drawn well, and is cutting back from the 7 furlongs to the 6.
Big Effect can be quick early.
Yeah, for Sonny Leone, who obviously rode Rich Strike.
46 counts, Kathleen O'Connell.
46 counts, seems like you're probably in trouble.
Probably. And then Cajun Gem, Speed Outside.
You know, this is the kind of horse at 14-1 you sort of dismiss, but off a 2-year layoff has strung 3 straight wins in a row and is in very, very good form.
So that's your field for this Naira Bets Sprint. Favoritism to Hurricane Nelson, Christophe Clement Barn. And basically a gate-to-wire win last time out. Now with that inside post, it seems like they got to go again with this horse, doesn't it?
I would think so. I mean, this horse's best weapon is speed. Run some good races and finally broke the maiden over a sloppy racetrack at Aqueduct here in September of last year. But the 4-year-old debut was the key last time. Just absolutely destroyed a group. And, you know, if he runs back to that, he's going to be very tough. But, you know, Rookie in here is a nice horse. This is a salty field, and taking a look, there's a 6 in there, Mattingly.
Well, Acacia Hurricane Nelson comes back very impressive in that 4-year-old debut. Has he just turned a corner now as a 4-year-old?
Certainly hope so, Greg. He was one of those horses that had showed a lot of promise first time out and was purchased out of that debut race in which he ran behind his now stablemate Deterministic and went right on to run a 91 Beyer speed figure without winning. So he's always shown up, just maybe not being the winningest type, but it was really encouraging to see that he has put some strong races together. That Tapit tried 2 starts back in which he ran well, obviously winning that off the turf race at Aqueduct 3 starts back, but then especially 4-year-old debut with the strong win last time out. He has the rail. He had it last time out. Luis Saez knows him well. He's going to use that speed. It's definitely his best weapon. And he is going the 6 furlongs in here as well, which he showed he was very comfortable doing last time out, stepping up into the Florida Bred Stakes Company once again. And we'll see if he has company on the front end. But I just think he's so quick early. And he's really sharp in here too, which is usually when he runs his best races. He's a horse that I think has definitely strengthened up after that last effort as well. The number 4, Comedy Town, though, he would like a little bit of pace to develop up front. Not a huge effort last time out by his standards, but he was running in Open Stakes Company in the Gulfstream Sprint behind Super Chow, who is a multiple graded stakes type of horse. And Comedy Town did not break that quickly that day. No threat really, but I thought was a good second 2 starts back. So again, he's one that would like a little bit of pace up front. Looks terrific in here. I watched a couple of his recent workouts on XBTV where the rider's just been motionless in the way that he's been training. So he's definitely doing well coming into this, as the board does reflect, and he has a little bit of a different running style than the horse that I do think is his main competition. Now, the number 7 Classify is another one for Saffie Joseph, and he's another one that's just not a winning type. That being said, I remember watching him over during the Belmont at the Big A meet where he finished 2nd behind Reddington on that track where you really wanted to be inside speed and really have the rail trip. And I just had written down that the shorter, the better for him. So I do like the slight turn back from the 7 furlongs to the 6 today. He's always a visually appealing horse in the way that he's put together, in the appearance that he makes. I just find him a little bit tough to trust overall, and we'll see if a little bit less distance and back into Florida Bred Company can help him to kind of get things back together. The number 6 Mattingly, as you guys were mentioning, much more of a turf horse. He looks more like a turf horse overall, but one thing I will say is that his 2 dirt efforts, one was a 2-turn dirt race as a 2-year-old, or I should say as a 3-year-old last year, no, as a 2-year-old, yeah, the end of his 2-year-old year, going a distance of ground at Gulfstream. He does not look like a horse that wants any part of that distance. He is stout, he's compact, he's short coupled, he's a sprinter. So I'm willing to give him a little bit more of a look in here because I think it's the right distance, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Acacia. There is Mattingly, his only dirt sprint. 84 Beyer, finished 2nd. He finished ahead of Hurricane Nelson, who didn't get out great that day, and that probably compromised his chances. but still something to build off on, an impressive dirt sprint for him.
Yeah, and you get Paco Lopez aboard for Joey Orsino, who prepares his horses very well. You're getting 5-1 right now. As you look at wide open betting board, this is a really tough group. I even think the 5 Chrome Ghost has got a big shot in here because this horse likes to win off the layoff and is 3 for 4 at Tampa for Gerald Bennett. He likes to cause upsets too.
Well, I mean, I think that Hurricane Nelson is where my conversation starts. Is a horse who is I think when you look at his past performances, you should look at them critically, right? Or maybe not so critically. He starts his career off, runs into deterministic, right? Then he doesn't have Lasix. He's second, he's third. Then he shows up. He runs into Reynolds Channel, a talented horse for our friend Lee Einseidler. Banned for Life, Montalcino. Hurricane Nelson finally wins.
And for those who don't know, I mean, this was a horse we all thought just had a ton of talent and just couldn't get over the hump.
He just kept finding the wrong spot for himself. I think he's a talented horse. I think the Lasix have made a difference for him. I think he's grown up a little bit. I thought he ran extremely well last time. And he's the type of horse that if you look at his entire career and make decisions about who he is, I think you're making a mistake. I think you should look at his last 2 or 3 races and then make the decision of who he is. I think looking back and being annoyed by the times that he lost at short prices could lead you down a path that might not be good for your bank account.
Had to be frustrating, Paulie, for Connections because they saw the talent that was there with him, and he ran so good, but at short prices, continually not getting it done. But now he's put it all together. Now it looks like he comes back with, I would say, probably the best race he's ever run now as a 4-year-old in his 4-year-old return.
Yeah, and I think the race 2 back on the synthetic before he went to the bench was a good effort too. He came from off the pace. Like JK said, after he finally broke his maiden, horses do wake up a little bit and they smell that winner's circle. And I think the thing about it is a horse that's had 5 seconds in 8 starts, when you win by multiple lengths, I think that's key. Not just winning by a nose or winning by a half a length. So the 2 is the horse to catch and probably beaten here. I do think there's other options at prices.
How about Comedy Town, though? This was a horse that you look at what he's done. He's become a multiple stakes winner, graded stakes place. This is a horse who was claimed for $25,000 March of last year, and then Saffie Joseph Jr. turned him into, obviously, stakes winner, graded stakes place, just a different kind of horse.
Yeah, he ran second to Damon's Mound. That's why him and Classify, the 2 Saffie Joseph runners, were right behind Damon's Mound.
He has not been the same horse as he was right after that claim.
Naira Betts Sprint. We're set 10th from Tampa. Let's go to Jason Beam.
They are in the gate. And the race is on in the Naira Betts Sprint. Good start for Comedy Town, who sprints out to the early advantage. Trying to go with that one is Rookie between horses and Hurricane Nelson toward the inside. They're 5 across the track here. Big Effect, Cajun Gem out wide. So those 5 quickly up front go 2.5 ahead of Mattingly, who's back in 6th. Classify is now 7th, a length more to 46 counts and 8th, and Chrome Ghost, your early trailer as they slug it out up top with a half mile left to go. Hurricane Nelson down on the inside of Rookie, they're 1-2. Cajun Gem out wide. 21-3 was the opening quarter mile time. Hurricane Nelson and Luis Saez, they breeze by the 3/8 pole, a half length in front of Rookie. 3 deep Cajun Gem, Comedy Town, waiting in the wings, just in behind is 4th, just a length and a half off the top trio. And we had one pull up there. Number 10 Cajun Gem is pulling up on the far turn. So they come around to the top of the stretch, and it's Hurricane Nelson and Rookie. Those 2 into the lane. They're a length and a half ahead of Comedy Town, who's back in 3rd. Chrome Ghost trying to rally up, was last, is gaining up to 4th, heading toward the inside. Hurricane Nelson still in front. Rookie and down the outside, Comedy Town. Late run Chrome Ghost up the fence. But inside the final 16th, it's Luis Saez and Hurricane Nelson. Hurricane Nelson wins the Naira Betts Sprint by 2 in the end. Second looked to be Chrome Ghost. It's very close there with Comedy Town. Then came Classify, and Rookie was 5th.
We saw Cajun Gem pull up, be taken out of the race. It's Hurricane Nelson now back-to-back wins. What a start to his 4-year-old campaign for the Christophe Colomb barn. Luis Saez aboard for both those victories as he takes the Naira Betts Sprint.
Charge, it is pouring it on, winning the Dwyer by the length of the stretch. Charge It wins it convincingly in this Grade 2 Suburban.
Back with you on our Sunday coverage here on America's Day at the races. Hurricane Nelson in sharp form, coming back now as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, just different horse, and congratulations to Louis Saez, Christophe Clement, and Reeves Thoroughbred Racing. Now 2 for 2 as a 4-year-old, and it's really turned the corner.
$8 for the win, goes off at 3-1. Chrome Ghost. Comedy Town complete that trifecta in the Naira Bet Sprint. We move on to the Equistaff Sophomore Turf, mile and a 16th on the grass for 3-year-old registered Florida breds. And this was what Jonathan was alluding to earlier. That's JK money, I guess. Good long cry, and this one opens up at 1-2.
JK money, it might be. This is an opinion I've had for a long time. In fairness, I was so hopeful that Raining Flowers would run in the filly and mare turf, juvenile turf race at Del Mar. Glad she didn't, because the filly that won from Coolmore was sensational. But I thought that was the best 2-year-old turf race we saw at Saratoga all summer. And Good Long Cry was involved in that race with Opulent Restraint and a few others. And so I've always had my eye on Good Long Cry, and the way she ran at Keeneland when at Aqueduct, when she finally got her maiden broken, she was sensational that day.
We'll have more on this one coming up in a moment. Let's go to Acacia with a special guest.
Well, it's a special day here at Tampa Bay Downs, and we have a special event going on for Naira Bet's players as well. And I'm happy to be joined by Anthony Minerva. Anthony, you're from Staten Island, so great to be reunited. We've seen you up at the New York racetracks, but talk a little bit about how special it is being here and how fun it is to bet and handicap Tampa.
Well, first of all, the weather's always perfect in Tampa. That's for sure. It's a great track, small, friendly, accessible to everywhere to bet. The horse racing is great. People are friendly. Just love Naira Bets. Naira Bets is the best.
You got a lot of New York trainers that race here too that you get to follow throughout the year.
Well, it seems like Chad Brown's everywhere, right? This guy's everywhere. He's amazing. He's got so many horses. Todd Pletcher, Todd Brown. It's just great. I love it here. I've been coming here for many years, and it's just great.
And tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Naira Bets group today.
Today, Naira Bets, they have a little get-together for all the players, everything. We have a buffet. The food's been great. Hospitality's the best. I mean, if anybody doesn't play with Naira Bets, they're making a mistake. Naira Bets is by far the best app out there.
I'm biased, but I completely agree with you, and we would have no game without the players. So thank you very much, and enjoy the day.
I will. See you in a winner's circle.
Look forward to it.
Well, Anthony, we appreciate that. And you could be part of the action as well. Get signed up, started. There it is. Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Get that $200 deposit match, new customer bonus. Be playing along with us this afternoon through the rest of these preps coming up. We have the Wood Memorial next weekend. Yes. Final, those 100-point races coming up. Go to NairaBets.com, get signed up and started.
I agree with Anthony, by the way. Margot, who runs the services there, is it. She gets everything done, and Tampa is one of the best when it comes to hospitality.
We're going to get back to that Equistaff sophomore turf in just a moment. Let's go back to Oaklawn. Race 8, maiden special weight, 6 furlong sprint ahead. Send it back to Hot Springs.
On the track, Greg. Good maiden affair. 3-year-old filly, 6 furlong sprint. A long shot, first-time starter, cold on the board, supermodel.
Taking no money supermodel, a West Virginia bred, half to a good runner in Hall Pass.
Yet another fresh face and some sweet gal.
A half to nearly $1 million earner, a really tough sprinter, Cowan here and taking money.
Live on the board, Lady of Silence, the edge in a one-race experience.
Yeah, was favored on debut, so it showed that she had shown ability in the mornings.
Johnny V on the long shot, Miss Ellie.
Yeah, picks up mount for Robert Medina, who was an assistant to Shug McGahee. I'm sure that relationship helped Johnny get this mount.
True Passion, Team Coal Battle, owned by Robbie Norman, trained by Lonnie Briley, then Lady of Light, Triple V Racing debuting filly.
Yeah, another filly that's actually not taking no money. She's actually a little bit live on the board.
Breaking good. Every reason to improve. She's 10-1. Then a big outsider, big long shot, super costly in her 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, she's going to have to turn it around coming off the layoff.
Followed by Yes, Ma'am. No, ma'am, Richie, based on what we've seen thus far.
No, it's really going to have to improve vastly.
Long shots to break side by side. Fall colors here. Second of 2 for the Asmussens.
Yeah, horse took a little bit of money on debut. And one thing about Steve's horses, they do improve usually in their second start.
Ride the Broom, who flashed speed in her first try.
Flashed really good speed before stopping. Probably another pace factor again.
Mandela, she's a half-sister to the 2022 Schuylerville winner, Just Cindy.
This is a filly I had watched train here before she ran, and I had a nice bet on her when she was nearly 9-1 and just missed. Well, we're not getting 9-1 today.
9-1 today. Mandela crushed throughout, 6 minutes out. Race 8, Oaklawn here on the day after the Arkansas Derby. 3-year-old fillies, 6 furlong sprint, and just cool to see those Norman stable, Robbie Norman stable colors the day after with Coal Battle. Coal Battle's third place finish yesterday in the Arkansas Derby. He loses the battle, yes, but the war is still ahead in a solid final prep.
I wouldn't give up on Coal Battle yet. I think he can step forward.
We'll take a deep breath, get ready for this 8th race at Oaklawn, pause, and welcome in our Fox Sports 2 audience joining us in moments. Welcome back to our Fox Sports 2 viewers. Just in time for the 8th race, and a very good 8th race. Maiden special weight, 3-year-old filly, 6 furlong sprint, and a $110,000 purse. He's Richard Migliori. I'm Lafitte Pinkai. The favorite here is a filly by the name of Mandela, well-bred. You liked her in her first start. A much better price on that afternoon. She was 9-1. The wagering public unloading on this afternoon.
Yeah, and listen, she deserves to be your favorite. She was very good on debut. She really settled and finished and just missed. At 9-1, I was getting pretty excited that day. She deserves to be your favorite. Just with natural, normal improvement, you've got to think she's going to be tough. I'd like to get back to that Lonnie Briley filly briefly. True Passion, the 5. Out of a really good mare, Fortune Pearl, a stakes winner, actually won the Delaware Park Oaks. And this is her first foal, so there's a pedigree to back it up. And one thing about Lonnie Briley, he's got a really good eye for a horse. He used to pick out all the horses for John Franks. He goes to the sales himself and picks out horses. He's got a good eye for a horse.
Coal Battle running 3rd in yesterday's Arkansas Derby. While you're looking at Some Sweet Gal, we check in with Maggie Wolfendale with eyes on the favorite, Mandela. Maggie, what is she showing you?
that she is a very strong filly that is well conditioned for her second start, but she also showed an element of greenness when commencing that pretty strong rally that we saw down the stretch. She lugged in pretty badly, but Rafael Bejarano, who isn't known to have the strongest left hand with the riding crop, just allowed her to do so. So looking at equipment, nothing out of the ordinary, though. Is wearing a ring bit. I don't know, obviously, what she was wearing first time out because I did not cover the race, but you know, she's warmed up without the pony. She's moving well out there. All things good for your favorite. We'll see if she can just be a little bit more professional, though, in the latter stages of this one here. Moving on to another second-time starter. I thought number 3, Lady of Silence, ran very well in her debut, too. She was the favorite, and she was behind Mandela. But she was a part of that 3-horse pace stool, and she was fairly game until they got just within the 8th pole. And then she got a little tired, and I can kind of see why she may have. She's a very robust filly. She's very wide, very broad, too. So, you know, she may have been a little bit stuffy for that first start and may have just needed it and benefited from it. She's been very professional, not at all affected from a nerve standpoint by that debut. So I like Lady of Silence, and she obviously has some speed. But I got to say, the horse I was most impressed with is a first-time starter in number 2, Some Sweet Gal, daughter of Nyquist. The dam, she won on the turf and dirt, and she's a half to stakes winner Cowan, who displayed maybe his better efforts on the turf, but we also saw him be very effective in dirt sprints. So looking at Some Sweet Gal, she's been preparing for this start at Fairgrounds, where it seems as though Brad Cox maybe has more of his A team, maybe the A+ team is at Payson, but the next best team is at Fairgrounds. And she's big. She does not look like she's 3. She looks like she's 4 or 5. She got a little fired up in the paddock, but once Jorge, Brad's assistant here, took her head, she kind of settled down nicely. She's been good out in the racetrack. I really like what I'm seeing from this filly. And of course, she gets Jose Ortiz picking up the mount on her. And you guys talking about Lonnie Briley's first-time starter, True Passion. I mean, look at those works 2 and 3 back. They're pretty quick, to say the least. And the dam, she won her debut, although she was actually a bit better going longer. Great Stakes winner, in fact, going longer. For Grand Motion, she's been so professional throughout. She's acting like she's been here, done this before. And I always appreciate that. She's very well prepared from the fitness standpoint, too. Is a little bit smaller, maybe more unassuming as an individual, you know, compared to the other firster I was talking about, but still a well-balanced type that is doing everything right at first asking, guys.
Acting the part, Maggie. True Passion. See what she does in her debut for Lonnie Briley. Currently 10-1. Let's circle back to the favorite in Mandela, 8-5. And wanted to revisit her first effort. This was late February right here, as Richie mentioned. She was 8-1. Far back early, Richie. She's finding her best stride. She's wide, 6 wide, and watch where she winds up in the end as she unleashes her best.
Yeah, I mean, you could see Rafael Bejarano was trying to draw her out to the outside with his reins, and then he just gave up on the idea, dropped her head, and she went all the way down to the rail. Then finally he put the crop in his left hand and went at her, and she finished. I mean, that was kind of a magical mystery tour. And just getting back to what Maggie said, one thing about Rafael, and it's been that way for as long as I can remember, always a bit reluctant to go to his left hand. You know, everybody has their kind of principles or their philosophies on riding, and that's something that it's always kind of been that way with him. You saw there, because she made that dramatic move, he finally did get it over to his left hand.
So what do you think the approach will be today with Mandela?
Well, from that post, he's going to have to try to find his way down to the inside. The worst thing you want is to be wide on the turn and then duck to the inside of the straight. You're not saving ground in straightaways. You got to save ground around the turns.
I like how she handled everything, though. I didn't shy away from any of it. She didn't. You don't see that type of maneuver so professionally done from a first-time starter, as far as going from the outside to the inside and still finishing well.
She did not seem to care one little bit about anybody, and if they were in her way, she might have just knocked them over the way she did that.
3-2, Mandela. For Chris Hartman, Rafael Bejarano. Ride the broom there, pictured in sheet. Look, she showed that early zip, that flash. She didn't finish. She faded late, but often you'll see horses that come out in their debut, they'll flash some speed, they'll tire, and you'll see a little more, as they say, stick to their zip in their second start.
Yeah, just they're going to be fitter and should, carry on a bit more. I do think she is certainly a pace player here. I prefer others. I love what Maggie pointed out, too, about the 5 True Passion. 2 really solid works. A sharp gate work, 46-4. A sharp half mile off the pole, meaning she galloped into her work, 47-3. And what do your best trainers do? They've got them where they want them. Then they just do a nice, easy maintenance move. That's to me like horsemanship 101 there.
Cold Battle Connections, number 5 True Passion. Lady of Silence, strong second choice at 5-2. But the favorite, Mandela, to the far outside, 7-5 at post time. 8th race of 10 on this day after the Arkansas Derby. From Oaklawn, here's Matt Dinnerman.
Yes, ma'am, loading in. Miss Ellie. Fall Colors coming up. True Passion for trainer Lonnie Briley. And Juan Vargas, who ran 3rd with Cold Battle in the Arkansas Derby yesterday. They backed out Some Sweet Gal, going to try to reload her now. Fall Colors goes in. Now True Passion's coming up. 3 back. Ride the Broom coming forward. Lady of Light to post position number 6. And then we wait on your current 7-5 favorite, Mandela. Coming off a nice effort on debut, was second best in a large field. And attempts to break the maiden and lifetime start number 2 today. Mandela's it. We're ready to go. And we're off. Smooth beginning for all. Lady of Light gets the first call of the race, has the lead from Ride the Broom, who takes the second position. Lady of Light 3rd with Breaking Good. Miss Ellie between horses moves forward to be within 3 lengths of the lead. Lady of Light, the first-time starter for the Todd Fincher barn, is very quick. Mandela settling in midfield today. She's 6 lengths off the pace. A gap of 3.5 back to Fall Colors. Then Some Sweet Gal to the inside of her. A gap of another 2 to Super Costly. Yes, ma'am at the back with Supermodel as they go into the far turn. Lady of Light winging it on the lead. Obviously very quick. Let's see how much stamina she's got after setting a rapid first opening quarter mile in 21 and change. Lady of Light coming to the top of the lane has a 3-length lead. True Passion between horses is sent along. Inside is Lady of Silence. Mandela's getting going on the far outside, and she's unleashed with a powerful run. Here comes Mandela down the center of the track, rocketing by horses, just blowing past her competition and drawing away. Oh, this is a nice filly here. She got a good setup, but I'll tell you this, she is coming home with plenty of energy, and she'll be wrapped up late. Mandela, beautiful in victory today. Some Sweet Gal was 2nd. Lady of Silence 3rd. Fall Colors 4th.
Doesn't run straight, but she runs fast. Remember her name, Mandela, graduates in her 2nd career start in the 8th at Oaklawn and does so with authority.
She just looked like she jumped in at the 8th pole and really finished on the wrong lead.
There's so much room for improvement.
So much, and wanting to lug in still, but no need to even think about the crop. Rafael Bejarano had her well in hand, and she just drew off powerfully. Nice effort. She is a filly with a lot of ability.
Mandela, her sister, half-sister, opening day Schuylerville winner at Saratoga 3 years ago. For trainer Chris Hartman, Rafael Bejarano, I mean, really an exclamation point, winning with conviction while she's committing these turnovers, making these mistakes, like a football team winning despite the fact they've made 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, right, just that raw ability and can overcome the mistakes she's making. And the fact that she was able to draw her away the way she did, not changing leads. I mean, she did change leads in her first start, but that's when she angled down towards the inside, got over right lead, and really finished and missed that day, but much the best today. Overcame wide trip and the lugging in.
Owned by Chris Wilkins, Mandela, geared down late, prop uncocked. Rafael Bejarano teaming up with Chris Hartman, daughter of Mendelssohn, and the half-sister to a Schuylerville winner, Mandela. 12, 2, 3, 10, 6-5 in the end. Results when we come back as our coverage continues from Oaklawn Park as she glides under the wire with lots of room to improve on this gorgeous Sunday in Hot Springs. Mandela rolls. Favorite delivers in the 8th of 10 at Oaklawn.
At the Keeneland September yearling sale, the premier thoroughbred auction venue in the world, Mandy Pope of Whisper Hill Farm signed the ticket on the $5 million sale topper by Curlin, bred by Stone Street Thoroughbred Holdings. He was one of $5 million plus yearlings by Curlin to sell. No fewer than 55 of his yearlings fell to the auction gavel, averaging nearly $600,000, making Curlin the #1 sire of yearlings in 2024. Curlin, the classic sire.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
Justify comes roaring home. He's just immortal. Justify is the 13th Triple Crown winner. An Arabian Lion claws to the front here. Arabian Lion to win the Grade 1. Woody Stevens. One minute, 21 and 3/5 seconds. Spine-tingling, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, Secretariat-like.
Back with you on our Sunday coverage on America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. More to come from Oaklawn and the finale at Tampa ahead. And we just saw a really nice 3-year-old filly break her maiden here in start number 2. And it was just a dominant performance from Mandela.
Yeah, this really was. I mean, when you circle a field like this, and, you know, Maggie talked about before the race, this horse is green, and she still is green. But when you're going by horses like this sideways, you have some talent, JK.
Yeah, I'll give you a little inside information, right? I had texted Florent Giroux and asked him what he thought about the 2 Some Sweet Gal who runs second here, who comes in the picture right here. And he was on an airplane to Dubai and was bummed that he missed the mount on this horse. So Mandela, the 12, who won for fun in this spot, might be a pretty good filly.
That was impressive.
I actually think all 3 fillies are in 1, 2, 3 are nice, but this one, obviously the one is.
Ran very good first time out, just missed. Runs even better in start number 2 for the barn of Chris Hartman. Mendelssohn filly. Looks like she has a very bright future with that performance. Let's get back to Tampa, and they're going to close out this terrific Sunday card, with this Equistaff Sophomore Turf, 1.16 on the lawn. 3-year-old registered Florida breds were good long cry. Jonathan talked quite a bit about, was very high on after seeing this filly last summer at Saratoga, and she'll be tackling the boys here.
Yeah, look, she's just talented, right? She's got tactical speed, which is great, especially when you have a horse, a trainer like George Weaver, who's not going to take it away from her.
Nothing subtle went by, blinkers off, getting on grass, and here is Javier Castellano. He is back, Paulie.
These guys are warriors. If you just joined us, Javier fell out of the gate about 3 races ago and had some wrist trouble, but he's on good long cry here in the last.
Turf debut coming up next door for Latch the Hatch.
Not a lot to lean on in terms of turf, but he does have some talent with some early speed.
There's Latch the Hatch. Going to stretch back out as well and get on the lawn for the first time for trainer Joe Orsino. Bold and Breezy, trained by Jose D'Angelo.
Took the blinkers off last time over the synthetic. Never been over the turf, and Sammy Marin will be aboard. I thought this horse had an outside look at a big price.
Blue Casanova, 1701.
Yeah, I mean, this horse who comes running late, but just doesn't come running late fast enough.
Still a maiden facing winners in this spot. Here's Win with Faith.
Another horse that comes from way out of it, and Paco Lopez will have the job here, trying to come home late.
Cocktail War went gate to wire last start for a maiden win.
I want nothing to do with this horse. Loose, slow pace, while being bet.
And here's the 10, Emmett. We'll get back to Tank in a moment.
Yeah, Emmett drawn towards the outside. I'm a huge fan of Jose D'Angelo. I think he does a great job.
And Paulie Tank, we saw Luis Saez. That one's quick early.
Yeah, this horse had the lead 2 back at Gulfstream Park, then went on the synthetic. The best weapon is speed, and I would think Louis would show that.
Well, back to the favorite. So 2-1, good long cry. Philly tapping the boys here in her second start of her 3-year-old campaign. And let's go back to November, 2 starts ago, when she crushed a breaker maiden.
Yeah, I mean, she was sensational in here, but here's a situation where I had been chasing her because of how I felt about the others that she had faced up at Saratoga. Opulent Restraint was an absolute runner, is an absolute runner. She turned out to be a nice horse. Raining Flowers, who I thought had the best 2-year-old turf performance of the entire meet at Saratoga. And I was kind of plugged into to Good Long Cry. And I think that when you find a turf horse who has tactical speed, and I'm certainly not comparing her to a Rushing Fall or a Newspaper of Record. I'm just pointing out the fact that when you have a horse like this, Voodoo Song, who I know you're a huge fan of, Wolfie, has tactical speed on the grass, they make their own trip. They're not dependent on the pace falling apart.
She is the 2-1 choice here as she tackles the boys for the first time in her career. Let's go to Acacia.
And we'll start with her, but first to echo Paulie's sentiments, great to see Javier Castellano back in the saddle, caught up with him back in the paddock and said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I feel good." He said when he was unseated at the start, it kind of disorients you in that situation, but thankfully he's okay. Cleared concussion protocol with these riders, so important to make sure that first aid is given enough time to go through those concussion protocols. Thankfully, he's A-okay, and great to see him back in the saddle and with a big smile on his face as well. But as far as this filly is concerned, when you see a filly, especially at this stage, taking on the boys, it's more common, you'll see it really with 2-year-olds, as they do tend to develop earlier, especially mentally, but especially with 3-year-olds as they get a little bit older. I like to see how they stack up physically. Now, if you were just looking at horses in the paddock and not looking at the paper, you would not look at Good Long Cry and say, "Oh, she's a filly. She looks out of place in here." She stacks up beautifully. She is big. She is strong. She holds her own, which I love to see with these types of conditions. She's been on her toes. Javier's kept her with the pony, trying to keep her settled and relaxed. And I thought last time out in the Ginger Brew, her first stakes try, she was really compromised by that outside post and caught very wide. Was also beaten by Nitrogen, who would come back to win very impressively in a stakes race here at Tampa a couple of weeks ago. So I think this is a really intriguing spot for her. In fact, her first time against Florida breds. Now looking at some of the boys that will take her on, the 7 Win with Faith is taking quite a bit of attention, as this is a horse who broke his maiden for $35,000, then stepped up in company, did it again at a big price, and was a big price in a open stake last time out. You're taking the worst of it with the price today if you missed him at those other 2 double-digit odds. But yes, he did have forced out is the comment last time out in the Colonel Liam. That did take place, but he was really far back after being off slow and squeezed back early, and I think that's really what caused him more trouble than being pushed out. I don't think he was really going to be able to make up that much more ground at that stage either. He is a deep closing type. I wish he did not leave himself with so much to do as we saw last time out. He looks good once again in here. I saw him at Gulfstream 2 starts back when he just had framed up so beautifully out on the racetrack, and seeing much the same today. Now the 9 Tank, certainly a pace presence. He does have some pace to his inside as well with Cocktail War in there, but Tank, I can see why he's named that. He is a tank. Now I'm not familiar with him as he's raced exclusively at Gulfstream, but he was really washed out from the moment he came into the paddock, kicking while saddling, just really on his toes, really revved up. He definitely acts like a speed horse. I'm hoping that this is typical for him and he's not doing too much, because he certainly has exerted quite a bit of energy before the race. But one thing we know and we've seen with Luis Saez, he's going to come out of there running, and we'll see if he'll have enough late. Greg?
Yeah, that's Luis Saez at his best. He is aggressive. That's when he won that riding title at Saratoga. That's what he did all summer long.
Putting horses into the game, and he just had a monster meet in Saratoga, and it's good to see him getting back into form now. We've seen Jose Ortiz. I think going to fairgrounds and winning that many races, Greg, it always puts more confidence in you. I don't care how great of a rider you are. You can see the way Jose's riding right now, and Louis starting to get back in that groove.
Now 9-2 here on clearly one who his best running look wants to be forward on the engine in this spot. Is he the quick of the quick in here? Or is the filly going to be right there with him? Is potentially Bold and Breezy going to be there as well, who's shown synthetic speed?
Well, Bold and Breezy has some speed, but if you look at her pace figures, even in those, you know, though she has some 2s and some 1s and some 3s in her past performances, her pace figures are not that fast. So I don't think she has to be there. I think the reason she was so close in those races is because there was no other pace in here. I'll tell you one thing about George Weaver, about Todd Pletcher, about Brad Cox, about Bob Baffert, Dwayne Lucas. They recognize when they have a horse who has speed and the weapon that is, and those guys don't take that away from their horses.
And you have also, I don't know what we'll get. First time on the grass, latch the hatch. Sprint speed.
Yeah.
First time on the turf.
I think the 8 is a lot faster than it does look. I know the horse got an easy lead last time. Very rarely do you win a race and then get gelded, too. Although he could have been gelded before that last race. You just don't know. But, yeah, there might be a little bit more pace. But Good Long Cry might get a good trip, too.
She is the favorite, 2-1 here. George Weaver Barn, Javier Castellano. Great to see him back. Set for this Equistaff Sophomore Turf. Here's Jason Beam.
The finale. And the race is on the Equistaff Sophomore Turf. Nothing Subtle broke inward at the start. Good Long Cry away in good order. Here's Tank up from the outside. Also, Cocktail War is right there. And Latch the Hatch. It's going to be Cocktail War just in front of Tank on the outside. Down to there inside, Latch the Hatch in the red colors is away third, just 2 lengths off the leaders. Then comes Emmett back in fourth. Good Long Cry. The favorite settles down fifth, about 6 off the top. Length and a half more to Nothing Subtle. Bold and Breezy. They race as a pair in 6th and 7th. They're 3 clear of Win with Faith, and Blue Casanova is your early trailer, about 10 or 11 off the lead of Cocktail War and Dylan Davis, who take him to the backstretch. 23-1, that opening quarter mile. Cocktail War. They start their backstretch journey. Cocktail War starts it with a length and a half lead. Over Tank in the second spot. Latch the Hatch stays third toward the inside, 3.5 off the top as Emmett joins that one to the outside. They're 2 in front of Good Long Cry, who's guided toward the outside in the clear in 5th. Meanwhile, Nothing Subtle advances down along the rail. Bold and Breezy's after that. Then a gap of 4 more back to Win with Faith, and Blue Casanova still trails. 47-3 was Cocktail War's opening half mile. They take their run toward the far turn with 3 furlongs left. Cocktail War 3/4 of a length in front of Tank in second. Now here's Good Long Cry circling up 4 wide on the outside. A Good Long Cry. Javier Castellano presses the button as they wind around to the quarter pole. Tank grabs the lead. Good Long Cry tries to go with that one, and those 2 face up to the top of the stretch pretty much as one. Cocktail War is now back to third. 2 more then to Emmett, who's trying to rally up the outside. Win with Faith is bursting onto the scene late. Still has 5 lengths to find. Tank seems to have repelled the challenge of Good Long Cry. It's Tank by the 16th pole now, 2.5 in front. Win with Faith might get up to second, but Tank and Luis Saez win the Equistaff Sophomore Turf. Win with Faith was up for second. Third was Good Long Cry.
Tank, Luis Saez, Carlos David Barn, and it's actually the first win on the grass for this 3-year-old.
Yeah, the 8 Cocktail War was cutting out the fractions, and the 9 Tank just sat right outside. Good job here by Luis Saez, and he saw the 3 Good Long Cry make that big run, and he was able to have a little bit more left, and here comes the 7 Win with Faith from way out of it. Swallow up second.
Here's the thing. My love for Good Long Cry, you know, I think sometimes you fall in love with horses as 2-year-olds. And you can think about it at your local middle school, right? There's that 8th grader who's just bigger, faster, stronger than everyone else. And then when they get to 9th grade, sometimes the smaller 8th grader catches up to the 9th grader that was good when they were in 8th grade. Look, I still think she's talented, but it seems like Tank has really progressed and turned into a nice horse. She ran extremely well.
The win here, 4th time on the lawn after a couple of runner-up finishes, including the last time he was on the lawn, able to get the job done this time. and seal the deal. So Tank with this victory to close out this card at Tampa Bay. Well done, Luis Saez. Let's go to Acacia, standing by with a winning trainer.
That's right, and special guest, his nephew Alex, joining as well. But Carlos, Tank. Oh, and who's this other special guest?
I'm his brother, Giovanni.
Giovanni. All right, we've got Alex and Giovanni, so all the special guests here. Carlos celebrating with family. But Tank, I can see why he's named that. He is a tank of an animal.
He is big and he's a tank. I told Louis, I said, look, anytime I try to raid on this track, the sharp turns and everything, I always get in trouble. So, you know, he's got speed. Just try to get the lead if you can. If not, right, you know, stay second. 1, 2, 3, that's it.
He was really sharp back in the paddock, too. I was wondering if that was just kind of typical of him, and it seems like it transfers over.
Yes, he is. And I told Brian, you know, the owner, I was like, you know, I tried to call him a couple of times. Every time I try to call him, he runs good, so I had to help back. So, you know, he's still a stallion, so, you know, he's full of it. He's full of testosterone, and he shows it in the paddock. And he's feeling too good, you know, so I was really confident going into this race, and he got the job done.
You're a trainer based in Florida. What's a races like this mean when you get to run your Florida breds on the big stage?
I mean, you always look forward to these races. I mean, you know, we're based in Gulfstream, but I've always been a fan of Tampa, and we always, you know, we run a few horses here. You know, I haven't really gotten that lucky here. I run a second in the Pelican. And, you know, today's the day. We got 2 races today. I'm more than happy. And thank you to Tampa. And they're always welcoming me. And they're great. And I'm really happy that I got 2 wins today.
Well, congratulations. And, guys, did you have fun?
Yes.
Yes?
They're
All
a little
right.
hot. It's a little hot today, so they're ready to go home.
I can understand. Well, at least going home after a win picture, Greg.
Yeah, nice to get that picture taken, winner's circle, and then head on home. Tank with the victory. Impressive here to close out action at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, congratulations, Carlos. Wow, a lot there. Saying basically he wants to basically geld this horse, but because he's so studdish. But man, he got the job done today. And Luis Saez, he's the kind of guy that can handle horses like that.
Back to Oaklawn, Southern Hospitality overnight, and there's a look at Praying getting set for her 3-year-old debut coming up. Let's go to Maggie.
Yeah, here on the infield as horses are getting ready for this Southern Hospitality Stakes. And we'll check in with one of your favors, one of 2 for Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, who looks to sweep the stakes on this Sunday Oaklawn card. As he said, Miss Martini may be lacking a little bit of seasoning, but she has done little to nothing wrong in her 2 starts now as a 3-year-old. For a Curlin, though, she's actually a little bit on the smaller side. You know, you kind of get used to the Curlins being big, strapping types of horses. So I love the fact that Steve just opts to keep her sprinting, because that's exactly what she looks like she wants to do. But really nice, composed, very classy acting. So all things good for a horse that projects to be a short price. Now, not at a short price is her stablemate, Vigidal, who, as Steve said, I could just slow her down. If I could just slow her roll a little bit, then it would leave her something left to finish with. I don't know if he's going to get it today, because she has been breathing fire since walking over here in the paddock. She's kept a lid on it, but she's still a little bit fizzy, and I'm just wondering if we're going to see that more settled, you know, race demeanor that he was hoping for today, because she just might be too sharp. Now, she is really well conditioned heading into here. She's really strong. She has this big kind of crestier neck to her, really strong hindquarters, and I love to see that with these 3-year-old fillies. So she's definitely done some filling out from 2 to 3. I love to see that too. And her 2-year-old races are fast enough. If she just improves a little bit, she could be a legitimate player. So we'll see. Can she take a deep breath and finish her races? Now, the horse that I don't necessarily get, I mean, I get on form, but I don't necessarily love her here. That's number 4, Praying, and looking at her, she ran really well in the Myrtlewood at Keeneland, I thought, to be second that day, kind of battling on the front end, put the other pace presence away, and was just run down late by a horse that was just better than her. She is very wound up. She came over here that way. She's been on her toes. She's just expending a lot of energy pre-race, which I don't love to see. Now, she's one physically I've never laid eyes on before. she's also quite small. So I'm wondering if there was any physical progression from 2 to 3. As we'll also take a look at the horse who would be my pick in here. That's number 2, Trouble in Love, coming here from Fairgrounds for Brad Cox. Beaten last time by Stable Currency, would come back to win with an 86 buyer. She had trouble. She never got a good position. She kept being, steadied back until the turn. Then she was steadied again on mid-turn. So she was just up against it last time out. And physically, guys, she looks tremendous here. She's nicely settled. She's taking it all in. I think if things, maybe get a little hot up front, she's going to be the one sitting in the right position to capitalize on that pace. Liffy?
Maggie going with Trouble in Love. The Stone Street homebred make the rider Jose Ortiz. Massive weekend in Hot Springs. Richie circling back to Praying number 4, who Maggie said looked wound up. Or number 6, Doll, Steve Asmussen, hoping she can, quote, slow her roll. Is there anything you can do as a rider pre-race to try and get these anxious, nervous fillies that are wasting pre-race energy?
You see a lot of riders of feet with a horse like that. Warm them up very lightly, jog them, keep them quiet. I think that's the wrong way to go. Personally, I think you're better off getting a gallop into them.
Leaning into it?
Gallop away from the grandstand. Get away from the crowd. Let them expel some of that nervous energy. Get them on the backstretch where it's quieter. Then kick your feet out of the stirrups and let them kind of take everything in and breathe. But get that one gallop out of the way so they'll kind of almost let their air go a little bit.
So from this point, riders up until post time, if a horse is over the top, there is time to regain composure.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's not a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
But what worked for me was when I would let them get that one good 3/8, half a mile gallop, get over to where it's quiet, then kick my feet out and walk, let them catch their breath, maybe stand out, look into the infield, and hopefully then they...
These 3-year-old fillies, what a show we saw in yesterday's Fantasy with Quiet Side and Simply Joking. Now the Southern Hospitality. Sophomore fillies sprinting 6 furlongs, $145,000 purse. We start with Good Call. Daylight maiden score on the 15th of March.
That was for maiden 75. This is considerably tougher, but
Little
that was
different.
a big step in the right direction for her.
Trouble in Love, second choice, 7-2, make it the third choice for trainer Brad Cox.
And getting Jose Ortiz fresh off of that riding title at Fairgrounds, homebred for Barbara Banke's Stone Street stable. Maggie likes the way she looks. Certainly elevates in my eyes.
Maggie's top selection, Trouble in Love. Then What a Moon, a 4th in the Dixie Belle last month.
And look who she ran to a neck in her second start, a mare named Simply Joking, who was just second in the Fantasy yesterday.
Strength of schedule. Then Praying, keeping a close eye on her.
Another daughter of a coma that is high-strung. This is Morris Regan's Newtown Anner stud, and Johnny Vlass is very good friends with Morris Regan.
Eskin for a raise, third at 36-1 in the Purple Martin, followed by aforementioned Doll, a defeated Schuylerville favorite opening day, Saratoga.
Another daughter of a coma that is a little wound up, and interesting to hear Steve talk about his son Eric working with her in the morning. Such an advantage when they get to know these horses.
Favorite, Miss Martini, runner-up in the Dixie Belle.
It makes a lot of sense. Comes off a really nice effort. It's never run a poor race. Every one of her races have been good.
Complex Secret, tall order on paper.
Yeah, coming out of claiming races, and is going to have to find one of her better efforts. One of her A efforts would actually put her in the frame, though.
Outsiders on the outside. Spanker Boom, back sprinting today.
Yeah, big price. Biggest thing she's got going for her is John Ortiz, who won the Fantasy yesterday.
Wisconsin Gal also exits the Dixie Belle.
Yeah, another one that just feels like she'd have to find a race we haven't seen in the last couple of starts.
That's the field. These 3-year-old fillies. 3 minutes out. Southern Hospitality Overnight Stakes. As for yesterday's Fantasy, what a moment for trainer John Ortiz, standing by live with Maggie.
That's right. I caught up with you, Johnny, after that Fantasy win, and I could just feel the emotion coming off of you. Quiet Side, she's been so tremendous for you.
Yeah, no, she was great. I mean, definitely a very emotional win for sure. It was exciting, really, what it was. I was standing with my brother over there on the stairs, and I just grabbed onto him. I said, just watch the finish. Like, don't even jump. Just watch it, enjoy it. And sure enough, I mean, it was very special, period, to have that kind of win.
And they were so well clear of third place, though Simply Joking running valiantly in second. She did have to earn it yesterday, as you said, a little bit tired this morning.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she was tired yesterday after the race. You could see she pulled up. Jose pulled her up right away. He knew how much she had used, and but she was good. You know, she pulled out well right after the race, scored clean, and this morning she ate a bar. She's cold and tight, jogged up sound for me and the vets, and we're very happy with her.
And you said that the schedule is to ship her from here to Keeneland.
Yeah, so she'll ship out to Keeneland on Tuesday. My brother Daniel, he's going to be in charge of the Keeneland string there, and it's 10 minutes away from my house, so I'll be up there with her. So keep her under my supervision, keep her under my brother, and don't change nothing. Just try to get 2 more works, maybe 3, and see her in the Oaks.
Daniel's her regular exercise rider too, right?
Yeah, that's his baby.
Aw, he's done a tremendous job, as have you. So well done, congrats, and can't wait to see her on the first Friday in May.
Thank you.
Guys.
What a cool story. What a good filly. Yeah, if she wasn't tired this morning, she wouldn't be made of flesh and blood.
No, listen, she laid the body down. She had to reach and really fight off a very game Simply Joking, who lost nothing in defeat. You know, that was only her 3rd start. That was as good a horse race as you're going to see.
Yeah.
We were on set, and I was excited. I mean,
that brought out the horse racing fan in all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets your blood up. And I love watching when a rider has a plan and you can kind of read their mind and they execute their plan the way Jose Ortiz did on Quiet Side.
I'm just torn in terms of how it relates to the Kentucky Oaks, because you love to see the fight. The fact that she's willing to dig that deep, but at the same time, it was a prep, and was it too taxing of a final prep for the Kentucky Oaks? I don't know.
That's the eternal question. You know, do you want a race that kind of battle tests them?
Yeah.
Or do you want an easier one so that they're a little fresher going into it? They do have, 5 weeks to recover. And she did have foundation. I mean, it was her 7th start. She's been in some battles before.
One to keep a close eye on in terms of preparation the next few weeks, gallops, breezes leading up to the Kentucky Oaks. As for these 3-year-old fillies, and you're looking at Miss Martini, for Steve Asmussen, Keith in the saddle. I don't care how many times we see it. I don't get bored. The story doesn't get old. Father and son working together, winning together, and at this particular meet, 3-time stakes winners together, father and son, the Asmussens.
You know, talking to Steve about it, you could see the pride that he has. And you think about the Asmussen family, parents, starting something, a training center, Laredo, so immersed in the racing culture, raising Cash Asmussen, Steve, and what they've accomplished in the game, and now to see their sons accomplishing, they're just true horse people, and their appreciation of the horses constantly shine
I heard
through.
you mention this the other day, and if you could expand on that a little bit, where it's different jobs, jockey v. trainer. Of course, Steve Asmussen used to be a rider, believe it or not, but you were focusing on his sons, just what good horsemen they are as well, aside from just race riding.
They're terrific horsemen, and the appreciation of the horses. When Keith won the Essex for his father on the horse's name is escaping me now. I'm sorry, guys, but
Red Route 1.
Red Route 1, and gave the horse an absolutely perfect ride. Before he got off the horse, what did he do? He gave the horse a kiss on the neck and thanked the horse for giving him that. That was the biggest win of his career. And then to do it with your family.
Generationally, what we're seeing now, father and son, and then of Steve Asmussen's 4 Arkansas Derby wins, the one that sticks out with a colt owned by Superstock, I believe. Superstock? I think that sounds right. Owned by his father, and what that was like and how much fun that was to watch as a racing fan.
Yeah, his father, Keith, who his son Keith is named for. And, you can see the influence of their Uncle Cash on both Eric and Keith as well. The way they tie their knot was the way Cash tied his knot. These are things that I like, and I look at the way they sit a horse, trying to get down on their heels. Cash wasn't, he was a tall rider too, maybe not as tall as his nephews. But the way he would get small on a horse because of the way he would kind of angle and layer his leg, and you could see both boys kind of emulating that. So you see that influence. Listen, I've known the family for 45 years, and I get the biggest kick out of seeing the success of Keith and Eric, and I watched them as little boys in Saratoga, running around the barn, hot walking for their father, going over to the harness races. They had some harness horses for a little while. They love horses and they love the game.
So much fun to watch, and a big part of this second stakes race on the afternoon on this breezy Sunday, day after Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn Park. So yeah, Keith aboard Ms. Martini, who is 8-5. What's the key to success for her today?
I think that there's enough speed in here that if she settles just off the pace, right, get a good break, her opportunity to get in a good rhythm. Like I said, she's never run a poor race, and she's got that right kind of style. She's not slow, but she's tactical.
Maggie went with Trouble in Love. Who'd you go with?
Well, listen, I like Miss Martini. She's the favorite. If I was going to look for somebody that I thought might be interesting, the filly that ran Simply Joking to a neck, What a Moon, I thought was a little interesting and a big price.
How much better that effort looks now. Post time for the Southern Hospitality, 9th of 10 from Oaklawn, live on Fox Sports 2. Here's Matt Dinnerman.
Post position 5 and Wisconsin Gal to the outside post. Wisconsin Gal for the Paul McEntee barn coming up. We're ready to go for the first running of the Southern Hospitality Stakes. And we're off. Good beginning for all. Praying going to the lead here from the gray. Vigidal, who's pressing the issue in the early part. They lead by 2 lengths from a wall of runners. Miss Martini in the 3 path. Trouble in Love now passing her. So does Good Call down on the inside. Miss Martini taken back to midfield with Spanker Boom. And Wisconsin Gal, who's 3 deep. There's a gap of 2 to What a Moon, who's 3rd last. Asking for a Raise and Complex Secret trail together as they hit the 4-turn run. Praying off the layoff is fresh and quickest with 3 furlongs to go. Strides clear while getting to the rail by a length from Vigidal. Gets a breather, tries to come back on again. Good Call down on the inside, saving ground. Trouble in Love is next with Wisconsin Gal. Miss Martini's taking the outside route. She's getting outside. She's going to be wide and try to floor it here, but she's moving. Miss Martini as they come down the lane. Praying in front. Good Call finds a seam on the rail and comes punching forward. Miss Martini still in with a shot, needs to quicken, but she's doing so now. Praying inside. Good Call outside. Miss Martini and Praying to the finish, and Miss Martini well ridden today by Keith Asmussen to win the first Southern Hospitality Stakes. Praying was 2nd, Good Call 3rd, and then Trouble in Love.
Right on cue. Father and son to celebrate a stakes win at Oaklawn Park here. Keith Asmussen, Steve Asmussen, Miss Martini, the favorite at 9-5 in the second of 2 stakes races and the Southern Hospitality.
Yeah, you could see Keith had horse. He was following the 2-horse Trouble in Love, but he angled out at the 5-16, so she blasted home.
To Maggie.
Here with Steve Asmussen, stalking you now. But you're a good person to stalk today.
Oh, great day. You know, both the 3-year-olds ran extremely well today. This filly's got a tremendous amount of class. You know, not real big in stature, curling. Expect her to get better with time. I think that, you know, today showed a whole new dimension with her. Obviously, we'll expect to stretch her out off of this, but very proud of her.
Well, that's interesting to hear, too. But I do want to ask you about the guy who's on her back with your son, Keith. And you guys have teamed up a lot this meet with stakes wins as well.
Yeah, I can't say. It's how comforting it is to work with Eric and Keith so closely. As you know, the relationship in the morning, the honesty, the familiarity with them, just when they're doing right, when you need to do a little more, when you need to back up a bit, it's made training so much simpler for us.
That's amazing. Truly is a family affair. Go get your picture taken. A family portrait.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Hey, 3rd stakes win. The reaction, the fist pump. Steve Asmussen, proud trainer, proud father. Keith Asmussen, his son, winning rider. 3rd stakes win for them combined. We mentioned Eric Asmussen. He rode Booth in the Whitmore. Booth, one of the best sprinters in the game. But for Keith, Red Route 1 in the Essex, Benedetta in the American Beauty, and now this filly, Miss Martini, closing with giant strides, takes down the Southern Hospitality, and as Asmussen referenced, moving ahead, added real estate in her future.
Well, certainly with that pedigree, being by Curlin, you got to think in her style that she would relish to go a bit further. And I was talking with Steve a lot about this because, he actually rode for a brief period of time. You wouldn't know it to ever look at him. Yeah, he's such a good person, Keith. But he said that he'll always miss riding, and I completely relate. I'll always miss riding, right? It has to end at some point. But he says he gets such great pleasure out of watching his boys and almost lives vicariously through him that it makes winning races even more fun.
Can watch it all day. And we see it time and time again. Father and son celebrating, and a victory in a stakes race here at Oaklawn Park with Miss Martini. Jackpot Farm, the Curlin filly, continues to improve, and a well-timed ride on the outside, Miss Martini. And excited to see what she does moving forward, especially with more room, more ground to work with.
And you could see the confidence that Keith had in her. I mean, he dropped her down to the inside. He got to save ground for the halfway through the turn. And then he made a decision. I've got a lot of horse under me. I'm going to angle her to the clear. I don't want to get stopped in traffic. And that familiarity that you gain with horses by working with them on a consistent basis in the morning helps to create that confidence because you know what their capabilities are.
Miss Martini, 7-4-1-2 results when we come back. Plus, the 3-year-olds en route to the Kentucky Derby. These were 3-year-old fillies and Miss Martini to the winner's circle. As for the road to the first Saturday in May, Arkansas Derby, not the only Derby prep yesterday. Gulfstream's marquee event, Tapan Street, emerging victorious, 100 points. Next stop, Churchill Downs.
Back with you on our Sunday coverage here on America's Day of the Races on Fox Sports 2. It's brought to you by Naira Bets, where you can play it all. Southern hospitality overnight. And little extra oomph from Dad with son Keith aboard. Miss Martini, it's Team Asmussen on this filly who's now 2 for 4 lifetime. Winner Circle lead-in brought to you by the Fasig-Tipton April digital sale on digital.fasig-tipton.com. Bidding opens this Thursday, closes Tuesday, April 8th. Let's go to Maggie.
Here with Keith Asmussen. And Keith, your father said Miss Martini's such a classy filly. She was right on point today.
Exactly, and couldn't be more confident in her going into the race. She's a barn favorite just because she's just an absolute pleasure to be around, just like you said. Exudes class. Daughter Curlin, we're excited to try her a little further, but are extremely pleased with how she's doing.
I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, there's the pedigree, but is there a feeling that she gives you underneath of you that says she can go further?
Absolutely. Even in the morning, she shows that she's got a big tank and will handle at a distance easily.
Well, you got one more to ride. Best of luck. But congratulations here, your third stakes win with Dad.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
You saw the reaction from Steve Asmussen, and just it means extra to have his sons enjoy this with him and have that success they're having on the racetrack.
It does. I mean, it means a lot to Steve. I mean, he is a competitive person, and you got to understand, Keith went through a really bad injury too as well, JK.
Yeah, hook 'em horns, Keith. He went to Texas, so I've always been a fan. But I think the important part about it as well is that Steve mentioned it, is like he gets honest feedback from his children, right? Like they're his kids. They're not gonna tell him something they can keep the mount, or well, boss. They're gonna tell him what he needs to know so he can do his best job training moving forward.
I'll never forget I asked Steve Asmussen, and this is actually a true story, because he likes to get after his riders a little bit. So I was asking him one day, I was like, he was airing out Keith, and Keith just took it. He goes, you know what, my sons can take it. And I think that's part of it. A lot of the jockeys, the way Steve is around his horses, he's tough on his jockeys. So he's tough on Eric and he's tough on Keith. I've seen it live in action. So it's tough love. So when they win, that's why you get that fist pump from Dad, because he's giving them tough love.
And it's so great to see, because you see their enthusiasm just spills over. They love this game so much. They're having so much fun what they're doing. Good for them. Miss Martini with the win in this stakes race here, this overnight. We're going to go back to the Derby Trail. Saturday, big day, obviously, with a couple of big preps out in Florida. A lot of talk about Sovereignty with that big comeback in his 3-year-old debut. It was not his day, though, in the Florida Derby. This one goes to Tappan Street. Brad Cox, Luis Saez.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's one of those situations where, Brad, Todd, Bob, Chad, they get good horses, and it just sometimes some of them come on in different spots. And this was Tappan Street's opportunity to show what he was worth. I mean, if you look at his past performances, what he did here in this race is not surprising. He was always a horse that was meant to be a good one, and he just showed up here and he did it. And he did it against a good horse in Sovereignty. I guess if I have to find a disappointment here, it's that I thought Sovereignty would take a step forward, a significant step forward based off of that comeback race, and he didn't necessarily do that. He didn't run poorly. I'm not throwing him out in the Derby or anything, but I just hoped he would have taken a bigger step forward.
Sovereignty's tough for me to figure out, and you can't take nothing away from the 9 here at Tappan Street. I thought ran a really good race. Sovereignty is such a big, lumbering horse. I'm worried about him. I think he's talented enough to win the Derby, and I actually think that he might be my selection when it comes up to it. Not yet, but I think he's so big, Greg. I'm a little bit worried about the 20-horse field, but he's got a big, long stride, and this horse seems like he's handy. We'll see what happens out in California.
This one lightly raced. That was just his 3rd career start. $1 million son of Into Mischief. So obviously high expectations with his pedigree, and starting to live up to him now as we take a look at the updated leaderboard after those 2 big preps in the Arkansas Derby and Florida Derby on Saturday. Sandman, top of the list. Sovereignty in 3rd, Tappan Street right there as well. But 3 big ones to come on Saturday to kind of complete this puzzle with the Wood Memorial, Bluegrass, and Santa Anita Derby.
Yeah, it's going to mean a lot, I think, because if you look at a lot, we were thinking, okay, this was going to be a speed-laden Derby. A lot of the speed horses are starting to fall to the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, we have to check in with a few of the early front runners, and even a horse who I think has probably run the best race in journalism. Got to see what happens with Barnes. We got to see what happens with the Wood here. We're going to see with Captain Cook. There's a lot of different things that still need to be seen. Chancer McPatrick getting another chance. East Avenue hopefully coming back. There's a lot to see.
Final big weekend, will happen next Saturday, including the Wood here. Final big stop in New York. And speaking of the Wood, 100th running will include this guy, Captain Cook. So impressive when we saw him last. Can he keep things rolling along on that road to the first Saturday in May?
Nothing stood in his way. War of Will won the Preakness.
At the line, War of Will. That's a photo for the win.
Will then and Vince Chemino take the Jimmy Durante.
War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Fusaichi Pegasus is asked for his best in mid-stretch into the final furlong, and Fusaichi Pegasus runs by the front runners, and he's pulling away, and he is pulling away impressively. Fusaichi Pegasus will roll into Kentucky as the favorite in the Derby.
And he would go on to win as the favorite in the Kentucky Derby. Fusaichi Pegasus, son of Mr. Prospector. What a performance in the wood, a 111 buyer.
Magical horse, he really was. Had some anxious moments before the first Saturday in May. If you ever remember, he dumped his jockey, Neil Drysdale. They were wondering whether they were going to scratch him or not, and he still went on to win the Derby. He's a heck of a racehorse.
What a performance. Got beat in the Preakness, came back big with that Jerome win. And then last time we saw him was the Breeders' Cup Classic. Did not run his race, got beat by Tiz Now that day. 100th running of the Wood Memorial coming up this Saturday. And you'll see it live on our air. And we have got a pretty good field that is going to line up. 12 will get into that starting gate, including the horse we just talked about going to break, the very exciting prospect for Rick Dutrow Jr., Captain Cook, the Withers winner.
And look, he's a horse who's won his last couple of races by 9 lengths and 2 lengths. He's trending in the right direction. He's in the operation of a trainer who knows his way around a Triple Crown. He won a Preakness and a Derby with Big Brown. He just has to get a taste faster, and maybe he will because he's got some time from some of these other horses that have more recency.
You know, in the Withers here, it looked like when he got lapped onto that other horse, got lapped onto him, he kind of took off again. It seems like he wants to see competition, but this was a good effort. And you know, Jonathan makes a really good point. Rick Dutrow is not new to the Derby trail. Big Brown won from the 20 post. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to set up his horses. Captain Cook's going to be really tough.
Feel-good story, too. Bred by Mary Lou Whitney Stables, sold in that dispersal. Now a St. Elias stable. We'll see if he can take a move forward. I mean, to do what he did in that race, and that was his first time around 2 turns, first time route of ground. Still, that was just his 3rd effort as well. There's still a lot of upside with this horse. He's exciting. So we'll see what we get coming up. You would expect he'll probably be favored on Saturday?
I would think so. And people get excited when Bob Baffert runners show up. So that could possibly take some money. But I would imagine that Captain Cook would be the favorite.
I tell you what, we're getting in the world where we're seeing, Bob Baffert and Brad Cox and Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher. Those are like the usual suspects that go to the Derby. Well, Rick Dutro's back in the games, and he's going to start getting some horses. So I think he's a guy that you're going to start putting yourself in the picture of him getting some 3-year-olds going on and forward. And Captain Cook, I think, could be a player.
All 3 starts, too. He's improved quite a bit. We'll see if we get that improvement again. And if we do from him, all of a sudden, I mean, we'll see what journalism does in the Santa Anita Derby, but he could be, with another improvement of what we've seen to this point, in that mix, potentially, of journalism.
If you win the Wood Memorial, you are a part of the conversation of the horses that can win the Kentucky Derby.
I'm with you. I mean, I know the Wood hasn't been the greatest stepping stone, but every time anything can happen, let's be honest. Especially this year, there's nobody that really sticks out unless journalism does what he did again.
Not just the Wood Memorial, that entire afternoon, it is loaded. Grade 2 Carter, the Gazelle, Distaff, and Excelsior, all part of that Wood Memorial Day Stakes schedule. You do not want to miss it. We're going to have live coverage all afternoon long. So be sure and check your local listings for our coverage on Fox. Final major prep on the road to that first Saturday in May from here in New York. Of course, Fox Sports, you're a home for the Belmont Stakes. One more to come. From out at Oaklawn, maiden special weight will close things out 10 minutes away from this mile and 16th contest for fillies and mares 3 and up. More coming up right after this.
Selling the best. Fasig-Tipton graduates won more Eclipse Awards in 2024 than any other sale company. Torpedo Anna, Moira, National Treasure, Sierra Leone, Soul of an Angel, Straight No Chaser, Fasig-Tipton, eclipsing the competition.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
General admission tickets are on sale now for the Belmont Stakes on June 7th at Saratoga Racecourse. Don't miss your chance to witness the historical 3rd leg of the Triple Crown. Get your tickets today by visiting belmontstakes.com/tickets.
New York breds. Race them.
Respect them.
Bet them.
Respect them.
Breed them.
Respect them.
Buy them.
Respect them.
Train them for a second career.
Respect them. Join us in respecting thoroughbreds at every stage of life. Learn more at nybreds.com.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
During Leo McLaughlin's 22-year run as mayor of Hot Springs, starting in 1926, the city became a haven for notorious criminals and gangsters, most notably Al Capone.
A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that in 1931, Las Vegas, Nevada had 5,000 people in it and no high-rise hotels. Everyone was there to build the Boulder Dam, which became the Hoover Dam. At the same time, in 1931, Hot Springs had 20,500 people in it, 22 high-rise hotels, and $100 million in gambling income. The only difference was here in Arkansas, it was illegal, but it was okay.
During the spring, tourists could find themselves rubbing elbows with gangsters and Major League Baseball players.
Everyone year-round could enjoy the hot mineral baths, hunting and fishing and gambling. But in the spring, it was the opening of the live thoroughbred race meet at Oaklawn Park. And man, was it a happening place.
You've experienced that tour?
Yeah, Michael Canali, Zoe Cad, and myself took that tour.
It's a motley crew.
It was actually a lot of fun.
Sure
I was
it was.
checking to see if there was any family members in there.
Horses on track for the 10th and final contender you're looking at, Songmaker.
Yeah, bred by Mary Lou Whitney Stables. Brings back a lot of memories there.
Mia's mom needs to pick it up, 47-1 outsider, long shot side by side, number 3, Gun Twirl. Big afternoon for the Asmussens.
Yeah, and they're stretching this filly out. Let's see if that's a key here.
Vino Tiempo, expect her to be far back early. No early speed.
Yeah, one-run filly from Vino Rosso.
Fantasy winning jockey, Arkansas Derby winning jockey Jose Ortiz aboard the Calumet Farm filly Calamity.
Yeah, filly that's kind of shown steady improvement. I thought her last race was her best yet.
Rush to Glory, first route on dirt.
Yeah, is that going to be the key? She's going to have to improve.
Seeking a Prayer dirt debut.
Yeah, you know, by Catholic Boy, who was a dual Grade 1 winner on turf and dirt.
Serafia, little one geared.
Yeah, another one that just feels like she's going to have to take a step forward. But her last race was actually pretty decent.
Furiana, kind of one-paced as well.
I never sleep on Wayne Lucas. You throw horses of his out at your own peril.
Number 10, St. Nancy S. out. Win for Spite in. Parked outside again.
Yeah, you know, she's been unlucky with draws. Seems like she's always getting outside post positions.
Yeah. Meg's Foxy Gray, bad post, but blinkers on in first route.
Yeah, and a filly that actually had trained pretty well before her debut. She's got to overcome that post. It's just so hard, particularly with young horses.
10th and final. On this Sunday program, maiden special weight, fillies and mares, mile in a 16th. Maggie, let's start with Songmaker, drawn towards the inside. What is she showing you as she tries to graduate in her 4th career start?
Well, she must have shown somebody a shoe on the way over because she actually needed a shoe repair to her right hind. So she got that taken care of, what she got in the paddock, and she responded beautifully to it. And I was wondering what kind of equipment they would put on her today, because last time she got out badly through the stretch, even did so when entering the first turn here. And I'm speaking with Norm Cassie. He said he has put what we always see horses that have that propensity to lug in or lug out on, and that's your good old Houghton bit, aka cage bit. And it is the first time she's wearing it here today. So giving rider Ricardo Santana, who does know her well, a bit more control. Otherwise, she looks fantastic. And so does your favorite, your other favorite in here, number 5, Calamity. But let's take a look at some bigger prices on the board, including number 8, Serafia. Will she ever live up to the $1 million purchase price that they paid for her as a yearling in Saratoga? Now, she does not race with Lasix, because the one time that she did, she was eased, and it was because she got what is known as thumps, and it's when a horse's heartbeat and their diaphragm synchronize, and they literally, their body starts thumping. It's somewhat painful, very uncomfortable for them, and it's caused by an electrolyte imbalance. And sometimes, because Lasix is a diuretic, it will cause that. So she does not run with it. I love what Mig said. I think she had a useful race last time. Now, she is a very tall, lanky, kind of sinewy filly that doesn't carry as much conditioning as I like to see across her top line and through her hindquarters. But when she got out on track, she kind of won me over a bit more, because she framed up beautifully beneath Eric Asmussen, who got her going into a nice frame and really moving well. So look for her to move forward from that first race back here in early March. Moving on to the outside duo, number 11, Win for Spite. She'll come in here for Tom Amos. And I thought her last race fairly useful for her second dirt start, first time on a fast racetrack. And she was taken back at the start, as you guys said. outside post, of course, but got to tuck over. And then she found a wall of horses because she did find her way to the inside at the back when they entered the stretch. But I thought stayed on nicely for third. She just looks sensational. If I was blindly picking horses based upon appearances, it would be number 11, Win for Spite. And then I thought number 12, Meg's Foxy Gray, is intriguing, stretching out. She's huge. Everything about her physically says longer is better. She'll apply a pair of short cup cheater blinkers, and she comes out of a race which featured Mandela, who was second that day, and obviously she destroyed a maiden special weight field a few races ago, going the 6 furlongs. And Meg's Foxy Gray, she ran like a horse that wants to run long. She was just very even throughout. So we'll see if she appreciates the added distance, Lafitte.
Yeah, Maggie, 2 fillies, several angles to work with. Win for Spite, Meg's Foxy Gray, but both handed tricky post positions.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Win for Spite, again, just gets that poor draw, and you have to make a decision right away. You can't go forward because you're going to get caught 7, 8 wide, and it's just not a recipe for success. So you've almost just got to kind of get him off the break, tuck in as quickly as you can, or try to find that break in between flights of horses and save some kind of ground into the turn. It's a difficult task.
Speaking of getting caught, the bookends, Meg's Foxy Gray, Songmaker, drawn inside number 1. She does everything but win, out in front, and just gets run down late.
And you can see what Maggie was talking about. Look how badly she's getting out. And Ricardo Santana is a very strong rider, and he had his hands full. At one point, he released his right rein completely and was just hanging onto that left rein. Now she gets the Houghton bit. Power steering.
Power steering.
You know, it works on the pressure points on a horse's jaw to give the bit back to the rider. And the bit is your brakes and steering. That's all you have. You know, in a car, you've got pedals, you've got a steering wheel. With a racehorse, you've got a bridle.
See how things work out for Songmaker here today, and Ricardo Santana. These fillies circling about. This 10th and final, we'll be saying goodbye to our audience essentially right after the race, winding down Arkansas Derby weekend. I wanted to just a big picture recap here, Richie, the marquee events that we watched yesterday, and for a day, we've talked about Sandman and his breakthrough effort in the Arkansas Derby, quiet side, and the fight determination that she displayed in the Fantasy. In your opinion, what is the one post-race storyline in the aftermath of the Arkansas Derby? What is the most significant storyline not being discussed?
Well, it's something we touched upon briefly, but I don't think it's garnering enough attention, and that's Cole Battle. Cole Battle was the keenest I've ever seen him in the early running of the race. He's not a horse that's shown that propensity to pull. And he was actually wanting to be a part of that scorching pace. I mean, and the rider did a really good job of extricating himself from between horses, but he was pulling. And he got him back off the pace, but it was a fight. It takes energy out of a horse. Then he made the first move, kind of a middle move around the far turn, when those horses were, not quite coming back to him yet.
Relatively close to a blistering pace.
Right. And then listening to Lonnie Briley's comments after the race, how he wished he had time for one more work. He missed that work. Now, people might dismiss that. Well, it's one work for a horse that's been running, but it's akin to me like a boxer getting ready for a bout and having to miss some training, right?
Yeah.
Not getting to spar, not getting to put as many hours in the gym as they would like. And what it did was manifest itself in making him fresher, making him keener. Lonnie Briley said, he will be a different horse for the Derby because I'll have the opportunity now to train him the way I want to into the Derby.
He says he keeps surprising him. Cole Battle, remember, he was thinking about skipping the Arkansas Derby and training up to the Kentucky Derby, but Cole Battle, one of these horses that thrives on training, racing, thrives on activity.
Absolutely. And the one thing, don't forget, he did not need points going into the Arkansas Derby. Of course you want to win it. It's $1.5 million race.
Battle, not the war.
But there's another objective here. It's the Kentucky Derby. Don't sleep on Cole Battle. I think that is significant. And I would ask people to go back and watch the replay and hone in on Cole Battle, particularly the first quarter of a mile.
One of the best stories, perhaps the best story, and still a Derby contender, Cole Battle. And let's not forget what the third-place finisher in last year's Arkansas Derby wound up doing on the first Saturday in May. Mystic Dan. Final race of this Arkansas Derby weekend from Oaklawn Park. 10th, the nightcap. Matt Dinneman, great weekend on the mic. It's post time.
But for now, enjoy the nightcap to end our Racing Festival of the South this week. Vino Tiempo, number 4, restless in the gate. The rider hopped off there, Walter de la Cruz. He's going to climb back in the saddle here. So they're going to back out Vino Tiempo, and our veterinarian here is just going to take a look over, make sure everything's good with her. Of course, the safety of our equine athletes and the human athletes, the riders as well, of the utmost importance to us. We've always got a vet standing by. Looks like gets the green light to compete. Vino Tiempo, we're ready to go. And they're off in the nightcap. Going to the front, Mia's mom from Gun Twirl. These two a neck apart as they come by us. Meg's Foxy Gray getting over to stalk the pace 3 deep as they corner into the first turn. Those three pretty much across the track as they corner into the turn. Songmaker is scraping paint. Seraphia in the 5th position early. A gap of 2 lengths back to Calamity and Rush to Glory. 2 more to Seeking a Prayer. Buriana is 3rd last. 6 ahead of the 2 at the back. Vino Tiempo and Win for Spite, void of early pace. They approach the backstretch run. Mia's mom and Jane Elliott winging on the lead, a length in front of Gun Twirl, who backs off in 2nd. Meg's Foxy Gray 3rd. Songmaker to the inside on the heels of the front runner. Seraphia in 5th, patiently ridden. Then there's a gap of 2 lengths back to Calamity and Buriana, who tries to make up some ground. Rush to Glory is plummeting back already with a half mile to go. Seeking a Prayer is next. Win for Spite now 2nd to last, and Vino Tiempo at the back under pressure as they hit the far turn run. Mia's mom being tackled by Meg's Foxy Gray, who comes away with the lead. Gun Twirl is plummeting back. She's called it an afternoon, and Meg's Foxy Gray finds herself in front. Seraphia taking the 2nd position, gets a cue to go as they round the far turn. Songmaker's still on the rail. She's 3rd, 2 lengths behind, coming to the top of the lane here. And then comes Vino Tiempo, who's mounting a charge from last, top of the stretch. And Seraphia comes looking for the lead. Meg's Foxy Gray made a premature move, and she's backing away. Vino Tiempo's 2nd. Songmaker asked to go. Seraphia with a furlong to go in front, but here's Vino Tiempo. Vino Tiempo charging to the lead with a 16th to go here, and it's Vino Tiempo. Seraphia, though, she's coming back. Seraphia, Vino Tiempo, photo finish. Very tight. Vino Tiempo, Seraphia on the line together with Songmaker 3rd, and Win for Spite was 4th. Photo finish.
Fitting end to the weekend. Thrilling stretch battle. Vino Tiempo outside, Seraphia inside, dueling to the wire. Who got it, Richie?
This is desperately close. It's a tough angle. My initial instinct was Sorry, guys. I needed my microphone. Interestingly enough, it's a tough angle, but my first reaction was the inside came back. But this is desperately close. I'm not going to venture a guess.
Vino Tiempo threw a fit in the gate. They had to back her out, take a look at her, make sure she was fit, good enough to run. Look at her. Got that anteater action like AP Indy. The head low head carriage. Walter de la Cruz. She was last early. And to rally and put forth that effort, heads bobbing, Seraphia, Vino Tiempo hitting the wire simultaneously. 8-4-1-5. Seraphia on the inside by a flared nostril. What an effort, considering everything that happened just before the race and in the race with Vino Tiempo.
Man, and what a game effort from the 8, Seraphia. And you want to talk about a horse that'll wear you out, the 4, Vino Tiempo. When horses run with their head out and down like that, as a rider, it just guts you. I mean, it's just so hard to keep them balanced, and they stretch you out so much. But you know, Eric said, wait, my brother just won a stake for Dad. I'm not getting left behind here. I got to win one for Pops, too.
What a huge afternoon. This is the stakes sweep for the Asmussens. Keith with the stakes victory about 30 minutes ago. Now Eric in the nightcap. And how much more fun is that? How much more satisfying is that for a rider winning those types of races? Winning by this much.
Oh, it means so much more because you feel like you really contributed to the victory. Also, it's always fun to win with your last mount of the week because for a couple of days you can say I'm pretty good.
And we'll be right back at it here at Oaklawn Park. And still, just because the Arkansas Derby is behind us, looking ahead to Torpedo and the Apple Blossom, the most prestigious race for fillies and mares, and of course the Oaklawn Handicap as well, as we revisit some of the highlights this weekend. And thank you for joining us here at Oaklawn Park. That filly, Quiet Side, showing her class, medal tested yesterday in the fantasy with Jose Ortiz. On to the Kentucky Oaks for her. Ortiz about 45 minutes later back in the Oaklawn winner's circle. Sandman, breakthrough performance in the Arkansas Derby. Next up, Churchill Downs. And the preps continue worldwide next Saturday in the famed Wood Memorial. We'll have it for you on Fox Sports 2.